is it you pray for?
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to the 49th episode of Abyssal Musings. Next week will be 50, so, yeah. Um, my name is Samuel Infamous. I don't know what the hell I'm doing today. I just stumbled over my tongue there. So let me rephrase that. My name is Samuel the Infamous, and welcome to my channel. With me tonight is my co-host Lawrence Knight.
What's going on, guys? Salutations and greetings.
And Know Me Without You is normally here for those of you who do not know, but she had some real life stuff that she had to deal with, so she may show up if she gets a chance, but if not, we'll soldier on.
Yeah. So no, Nomi should be back next week, but she did mention she messaged me earlier in the day, and I told her to go ahead and she needs to handle what she's handling.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
you guys will see the Nomitron again. She's an invincible robot.
yeah, everything's fine and all that. Just sometimes real life gets in the way of doing what you want to do, and so you got to go do what you got to do. Let's say hello to the chat real quick. I see Suka. No, there's not a prize for being first. Bragging rights, basically, and an eternal fight with Lawrence.
Feel free to suck it.
We have Shadow of Hawk with us.
Shadow
who
Cock.
is, she's echoing what you just said. We've got Clue Channel. We are only about 15 seconds late. Thank you very much. And I see that you posted this like a quarter of an hour before we actually were supposed to go live. We're not late. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we are not late.
Oh, we've got Kohai in chat with us. Good to see you. And as I understand it, I think she said something to the effect in chat. She has her internet back. She is making memes again. She's actually sent me 2 of them. I haven't uploaded them yet, but I will at some point in the course of the show, and we'll show them off. And yeah, that's who I see in chat right now. For people coming in later or who are lurking and decide to post something, I will shout you out as you'll see your names. Larry, how you doing, man?
Man, right now I am cleaning up a mess.
Yeah, Larry had a soda explode on him like literally seconds before I hit the live button.
And the soda's not even good.
Was it like Sprite Zero or something?
Like Sprite negative. It's one of those. It's one of those store brand type of spritz water or something like that, and I thought it was going to be something that it turned out not to be. So I ain't happy.
Well, I mean, at least you don't have to drink all of it, right?
Yeah, but having opening up a bottle and having the whole doggone thing explode right in your lap, all over the place. I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it happens to me more often than I will ever admit. So I'm only laughing because I know what you're going through. I feel your sticky, spritzy pain. All right, that's what she said. Yeah, it's all
whatever.
over me. That'll leave a rash. I mean, a mark. So, guess what happened today? We had a couple of things happen today that were a little out of the ordinary. I mean, not for where I live here in Wyoming. Currently in Yellowstone, it is snowing.
Mm-hmm. Remember
It's
what
not
I
even
said?
October.
Well, technically now you can call Yellowstone Whitestone.
Yeah. Well, it's not even October. It usually doesn't snow till like the first or second week of October. So in Wyoming, but it's a little early this year. We also had a buttload of hail fall on the town I live in, city I live in today. So much that some of the police officers were making little bitty snowmen out of the hailstones.
Mm-hmm. Are you serious?
There's a lot of hail.
Well, I guess you got to do something with it.
Yeah. No, I'm deadly serious. One of my coworkers got pictures of. Yeah. So, yeah, it's. It dumped a bunch of rain on us too. But and it's super fun when you get hail like that with the rain.
Mm,
All that rain washes obviously towards the drain gutters, the storm drains.
of course.
But so does the hail, which will often clog up the storm drains, and then you end up with flooding, which is super fun. So,
Well,
hey,
that's
Caucasian
definitely
Sasquatch.
right. Well, I say every day. I'll stop right there.
Yeah. Well, we got it was hours before I left work, but when I left work, there was still piles of the stuff outside, and it's like I don't know, 60 degrees out. So that's how much of it there was.
Hey, it's 60 degrees.
Hours later, there's still ice on the ground.
It's 60 degrees in Wyoming.
Yeah.
I thought summers for you were like -40 or something like that.
No. Summers here get up to 112. I mean, it's rare that it goes that high, but it can. Usually, it tops around at around 98 to 102. But yeah, we've had summers that got up to 112. We have a thinner atmosphere. We're higher elevation, and we're more exposed to the sun, and there's nothing shading us.
Yeah, that's bad. Now, is it a humid heat or is it that dry heat?
Well, it used to be really dry out here, mostly on account of the low oxygen and the constant wind. But lately it's been more humid than not. I mean, we're not talking like Georgia humid or anything like that, but definitely for those of us who've grown up at high elevation in a dry climate for most of our lives, it's been too much. So that's been weird. It's been kind of humid this summer. Um, but summer is officially over now that we've had our first hailstorm and there's snow in the state. It is now officially fall. You can kind of feel the change in the air. So, um, yeah,
We got to.
it's pretty easy to do. Like those high temperatures, they suck, but they don't suck anywhere near as bad as it would in like Florida. you know, what is 60 degrees in Canadian? I don't know. I don't speak Canadian, dude. It's like, I
You don't
don't
speak
know.
Canadian.
No, they use Celsius. I don't remember what the exact conversion is. I think it's something like 60 degrees Fahrenheit here is like 22 degrees there, maybe lower. I don't recall exactly what it is.
Mm.
So, but yeah, hey D-Day Direwolf, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. But yeah, no, so we're officially changing seasons right now. Like, I mean, I say officially, it's not like the calendar officially, but like as far as the weather is concerned and the actual seasons, yeah, the leaves started changing this week. We're getting snow on the ground. I mean, it's time for fall. You know, it hasn't gotten warmer than I think 62 degrees in a week.
Really?
So, yeah,
Well, where I'm at, the weather it's actually cooled down a lot, and I mean, but the weather turns on a dime out here, and yesterday I opened up the window for my son when I put him down to sleep, and I went up there to check on him before I went to sleep because I just knew that it was gonna be still humid and hot up there. Man, I went up there and I might as well have put that boy in the freezer. I was so glad I had because we gave him like 3 blankets,
hmm
and as big as he is, he was bundled up and everything. And I went up there, and that boy was rolled up like a cigar, and I'm glad he was too, because I went up there, I was like, man.
yeah. So, real quick clue. Yes, I knew that. And it is, if I remember right, the only place where Celsius and Fahrenheit are actually the same temperature is 40 below. Everywhere else, they come up with different numbers for the same temps.
Don't believe him, Clue. He didn't know that. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh no, I did. I did. Believe me, because when it gets that cold out here, you ain't got nothing to do but stay inside and read.
Right.
So, and other thing, Shadow is dropping our links in the chat. Really appreciate that, dude. The only thing I would suggest is that, um, I mean, we're on this channel right now. So if you guys are watching, you already know where it is.
Yeah, well, and you have we do have other people. We do have other people here in the chat who also have channels and they have Twitter. So like Caucasian Sasquatch, if he's still there, Shadow drop his clues here. Drop his. You guys, feel free to drop your links to whatever you're doing. Feel free to drop that and drop those in the chat as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, it's been an interesting. Oh, the other thing I was going to tell you that happened on my way home from work. So there's a truck stop that I pass through their parking lot because it's between the main highway that I walk down and the neighborhood that I live in. And on this truck stop, there's sort of a diagonal sidewalk because you know how everything's either east, west, or north, south. Generally speaking, in America, we do grid patterns.
Right.
So this would be a um, southwest to northeast kind of angled sidewalk, and it's not particularly long. It just goes from the edge of the block to the parking lot. But there's some shade trees there and some nice grass and all that. It used to be the visitor center for the Chamber of Commerce was there, but they've torn that down now. It's just lawn. But so, and they've got a picnic table, like one of those metal picnic tables that you generically find in any park pretty much anywhere in America. And on this picnic table was a body,
Mm.
possibly alive, but it was really hard to tell because it was covered head to toe in a single blanket. I hope just sleeping, but given the weather that we've been having, like that's probably not an optimal place to do it. And yeah, so that was interesting. Went inside to buy some essentials. Told the clerk, I was like, yeah, there's somebody out there on that table out there. And he's like, yeah, don't bother him. If we go out there and get involved, the boss wants us to chase them off. And I figure they've had it hard enough. I was like, yeah, you might check on this one. He's like, why? Are they doing something? I was like, well, they might be dead.
Well, I mean, it's not funny, but I mean,
Yeah.
if somebody's
Yeah.
outside, yeah, you definitely want to check on them, especially in that
Yeah,
weather,
it was
man.
like I was like, if they're just sleeping, I'm cool with that. Leave them where they're at. If they found a place to sleep, good for them. But if they're dead, you're definitely gonna want to call somebody.
Hmm.
um, yeah, Suga, probably a transient, probably somebody who is passing through. Um, we don't get a lot of homeless here, even in the summer, because of our location. Is pretty barren and it's pretty hard to get the things that you need to survive. There are a handful of year-round homeless that we have here, but I mean, when I say handful, I mean literally like five. Um, Everybody else rides the rails through here because there's a major shipping lane for coal trains that
Hmm.
comes through here. So we get a lot of that, but but they don't stick around, generally speaking, because the weather is not hospitable. I mean, in summertime it's fine, but in the winter it gets too cold to survive outside. And that was a single blanket. It wasn't even like a thermal blanket. So, yeah, there are, so yeah, it's just, homelessness happens everywhere in America, but it's not as prevalent here because the environment's a little too hostile to it, frankly. So I hope they weren't dead.
Yeah, I hope so too. Um,
Well, it's always tricky because you kind of want to check, right? You kind of want to, like,
right.
at the very least, get a stick and poke them and see if they're going to move. But that's probably not the best way to do it. But it at the same time, like, I know for a fact that while we don't have a lot of homeless, we do have a lot of crackheads.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
And
that you do.
last thing I need is to get stabbed by somebody who's laying in wait for a random passerby.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
reminds me. I actually saw this. There was a. I'm just gonna call it Twitter. I don't want to call it X or crack and all it. Twitter. but there was no, not Twitter. I almost said LinkedIn. It wasn't a LinkedIn video. It was what is that? That one that everybody else is watching is every
Kick?
platform. Hmm?
Was it Kick? Oh
No,
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 your Vimeo, right?
no. Every
I don't know.
platform, but this one is going through my head right now, and it's not even the right one. Um, what is that one that everybody's
TikTok?
been TikTok? There we go. There was a TikTok video of this guy was doing a warning to everybody about public bathrooms, and and this is piggybacking off what you were talking about with drug dealers, and he was saying, you know, when you go use a public bathroom, look at the toilet paper. And he said, if you see red dots in the toilet paper, don't use that stall because the red dots is from drug users sticking the needles in the toilet paper to wipe their needles clean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they can reuse them. Except that, by the way, it doesn't sterilize shit.
Doesn't
Just saying.
sterilize anything, and you're potentially infecting other people.
Yeah, you know what was super fun back in the day. So like crystal meth used to be. I mean, it's still a problem, but there are other new designer drugs that are kind of taking over for it, and like hillbilly heroin and that kind of thing. But um, back in the day, like crystal meth smokers, crack smokers, and whatnot, they used Bic lighters, right, to do their thing, and you could never lend your lighter to somebody that you knew was addicted because you'd never see that lighter again, and if you did, it would be empty within 5 minutes of them using it.
Right.
Um, if you found, this was something I learned early on, if you found a working lighter or what appeared to be a lighter with plenty of fluid in it, just lying around out in the open, especially in a place where a lot of traffic happened, don't pick it up and use it because some sick fucker was. And this actually, I'd read that this was happening prevalently in Seattle, but I'd heard of it happening in my town and when I lived in Colorado and several other nearby towns. But some sick fuckers were going out there trying to take care of the crackhead problem by sort of jury rigging HIV infected needles under the thumb depressor and just leaving these lighters out for crackheads to find.
He do realize that that's not an instant issue. That's going to be
Mhm.
it's not that's not going to be solved instantly. That could be 10, 20
No,
years. That
it's also, well, I mean, crackheads don't usually get their shit together well, fast enough to
if
seek
you
proper medical
it,
attention. But
if you
yeah,
want to take
it's a
care of
long
them,
term
just leave
thing.
them alone. If you want to take care of them, just leave them alone.
Well,
Their habit's going to take care of itself, one way or the
that,
other.
like I said, it was some sick fucker. I don't know what they were thinking, but aside from the fact that that's basically murder, but it's murder in the same way that, like, those little ant traps that you can get that basically have poisoned food in them, and they draw the ants in, and the ants carry the poisoned food back to the colony, and then they poison everything in the colony, and eventually they stop coming.
That's evil.
See, the thing about crackheads is that crackheads fuck, and they fuck each other, and they fuck a lot.
Okay.
And they're not, and they're even less careful with their dicks than they are with their needles.
Don't they know that it feels better? And then this is what I've heard because I've never done drugs. If you're gonna do that a lot, ecstasy is the drug of choice because it heightens the feeling. That's what I was told by somebody who got to the point where he couldn't have sex unless he took it first.
That's yeah, but that's a whole other can of worms, man. And that's not generally like if you're addicted to something, you don't just switch it. You know, with certain exceptions, obviously. I think people who go to AA and chain smoke and drink gallons of fucking coffee are just compensating for their lack of alcohol, personally. Um, but it isn't because they don't want the alcohol. They're using it as a stopgap, sort of a fill-in for their addiction. But it's not like they're just like, oh, I'm going to switch drugs now, kind of thing. So, um, and
Or you could be addicted to what Miss Kohai here is doing, flamethrowers.
I set myself on fire that way once. Well, she's talking about the ones that have the adjustable flame size, and like if you tinker with them a little while, it removes the safety catch in there, and you can shoot up flames that are like a foot and a half tall.
You hear that, folks? It could
But
be
it,
worse. It could be raining flaming Samuels.
yeah, yeah. But the problem with that is that it also breaks the seal on them, and so you end up leaking lighter fluid all over the place. And if you're not careful, a stray spark will set your pants on fire, which is what happened to me. So super fun. Uh Clue says it's more practical to turn the lighter into a bomb. Yeah, it is, and
Yeah,
and people were doing that too, but they weren't, like I don't know why somebody was sticking a bunch of like needle tips that had been dipped in like HIV infected blood, and you knew that they had done it recently because otherwise it wouldn't have, like, if you pick up a needle that's been lying there for a week, whatever HIV was on it is dead. It might have something else,
yeah,
but the HIV doesn't survive more than 24 hours outside of a living biome, and whatever blood vessels it would have been, or blood cells it would have been in, have died. And it's so, like, without finding a way into a new bloodstream, it just dies off, like, so yeah, you'd get it in your system, but it ain't going to do shit because it's dead. So when people were getting infected with this, you knew that the people laying those out as traps were doing it fairly recently.
yeah.
Like,
And oh, go ahead.
well, just like within that day.
Yeah, I was thinking the guy that was doing that probably either worked in a hospital or was the one that was HIV positive.
Yeah, and that was possibly it too. Hey Wookie, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you giving us a watch and all and a like and all that. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, appreciate it, Wookie.
Probably from themselves, Shadow, like
Yeah,
like Larry was just saying. There there's some sick people out there,
yeah,
and sometimes when I mean, they might have been in like late stages of like full blown AIDS, which is pretty hard to survive if you're not treated. And depending on what because it's not the AIDS itself that kills you, right? The AIDS kills your immune system.
yeah.
Anything you catch after that is what kills you. Um, but they might have picked up something else that was raging through their body, like syphilis or some shit like that, that was making them not think straight, too. Um, they
Or the
may have been
comment they catch the
angry.
right,
Yeah.
or they might
Yeah.
catch the common cold. Now, here's something a lot of people don't know. There is something that you use every day that it's not HIV, but it does the same thing that HIV does, only nowhere near as powerful. But it will turn off your immune system and make you more susceptible to getting sick.
Mhm.
And if you switch off and use like a pure or healthy form of it, your body will let you know real quick how many potential cold germs and things that you have swimming around in your body, because you will instantly get sick. Like I did. I was sick for a week. I mean, I throwing up, headaches. My cousin gave me this thing. He was like, "Here, no, use this. Don't use that." And I used it, and man, a couple of hours later, I was miserable. I was looking for him. I was looking for him.
Mhm.
But what it is, it's a fluoride toothpaste. Fluoride is what does it. And my cousin was at the time, he was really into health and things like that, and so he gave me some all natural toothpaste. What's up, Josh? But he gave me some all natural toothpaste, and he was like, "Hey, cousin, stop using the fluoride toothpaste because that stuff turns off your immune system. That's why people get sick a lot easier, than they normally would. I mean, your immune system
Mhm.
isn't off, but it it makes it it makes it weaker so that you can catch stuff easier." I took that. I used that toothbrush. Like, I used a toothbrush. I used that toothpaste. Few hours later, I had a fever. Then I was throwing up. I was shaking. I mean, it was crazy. My body it just turned on and just went haywire, trying to kick any little germ out of my system. It was going haywire, kicking it all out. My mother had to rush me to emergency because I wouldn't stop throwing up.
Yeah. It's no joke. It's no
Oh,
joke, that stuff. But and we'll actually, if you guys are more interested in topics like this, we will be covering a little bit more of this tomorrow. Um, in regards to like cures and that kind of thing. It'll be coming
Hold
up
on.
tomorrow on Screaming to the Void. Let me finish the sentence first.
I'm trying to answer his question, dude. Before you go into that, I'm trying to answer
That's all
Suka's
I'm
question.
saying. That was it. I'm done now. Go ahead.
Thank you. No, Suka. No. What the non-fluoride toothpaste did was it reversed the effects of the fluoride. It made my immune system act the way it's supposed to be. And when my immune system turned all the way back on, then it started kicking out. You have what they call free radicals running through your system that can make you sick and stuff like that. And it just went nuts, kicking anything that was foreign in my body. It was kicking it out. So the fever and the throwing up and everything, that was a direct reaction. That was my body kicking out anything that was all the impurities out of my system.
Yep, yep. So, but yeah, we'll be discussing a little bit more of this tomorrow as well. Because I got a little bit of information about a man, some dog medication and cancer remission that we'll be going over. So, and likely the AIDS thing will come up as well. Um, yeah. So before we get into anything else, real quick, because I would like to close a few windows. So I've got too many windows open right now. I want to show off this thing that I showed Larry the other day. I think you guys will get a kick out of this. Um, yeah, this dude tried to dodge the cops with a cartwheel. It's not a joke. There is a video. Let me make sure the volume's on. There we go. This is wild. And there he goes. Like, why?
Hey, have you
Uh,
ever? Speaking of this, have you ever? Do you remember, or have you heard of? There was basically, I mean, I guess you could call them the Super Friends, but it was some local citizens in Seattle that decided that they were superheroes, and they decided to patrol the streets and fight crime under a would-be um, Batman type, and he called himself Phoenix Jones.
yeah, he was one of the first of them. There's actually a rash of people who were doing that
Yeah, yeah,
across the United States for a while there. I mean, most of these guys were working in like soup kitchens and shit, and they weren't actually out putting their bodies on the line, like stopping muggings or anything. They weren't stupid for the most part. I mean, there were a handful of them who did something like that. Most of
like
those guys got
Phoenix.
hurt.
Yeah, like
Right.
Phoenix.
Right. He did.
He
But
got
most of
arrested
those
too.
guys were like, yeah, well, because vigilantism is still a crime,
Yeah.
But yeah, he was he meant well, but he was ill equipped and he was not in the best of shape, and he just wanted to help, but he went about that completely the wrong way. And most of the other people who went around like dressing up like superheroes and stuff were helping people across the street, or they were carrying groceries for people, or they were working in soup kitchens, trying to do good things around their neighborhood.
Right.
This guy was actually trying to stop crime.
Yeah, he was,
It did
and
not work out for him.
and he had a small team with him.
Yeah, yeah, he did. Well, not initially. I think the first time he got his ass handed to him, ended up in the hospital and all that. He was by his onesie, and
Yeah, he did.
I think he had a different name the first time he went out, different costume. He like revamped himself after that.
Yeah, he even had a sort of secret hideout. I don't want to say Bat Cave because I don't want to insult Batman, but I think it was like in a comic book shop. Because I remember seeing the video when they interviewed him. It was a news report. He was in the store, and he pulled back some little bookcase and walked inside. And I was just like, aren't superheroes supposed to be secretive about their secret? you know?
Yeah, secret identities.
I was like, dude, like, he's like, well, I'm not gonna show my face, so I can be safe. And I was like, we already know you're in Seattle. you're walking around the street. You don't even have a Batmobile, and if any and where you're at, people are seeing the inside of the comic book shop. Anybody who goes in there, who frequents in there, are if they see this video, they're gonna know where your hideout is if they've been in there enough.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, look, I applaud the effort and all that stuff, but I mean, if somebody's going to go out and do that, they should be smart about it. They should, like, don't put themselves in direct like harm's way. Obviously, if somebody's in trouble, you should try and help them. Yes,
Mhm.
but you don't go looking to pick fights with thugs just because you want to be Batman.
Yeah, and the bad thing about it is that people didn't know when he got arrested. First of all, he has the funniest flat top I've ever seen, like Kid from Kid and Play, and uh, and it doesn't fit his face at all. But he was a local mixed martial arts champion. And he was getting beat up by street thugs. So I think he took on like two or three guys at once, and I guess he thought he could mix martial arts all of them, and he got caught slipping.
Yeah, that'll do it. I don't know. You just probably better not to get involved with people who are their whole lifestyle is violence. Right?
Mm.
I'm saving this thing here. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. All right, that should take care of that. I can close that window now too. Sorry guys, I'm doing a little stuff back on the back end here, but yeah, screw this. I'm Iron Man. That's funny.
And
Yeah, I think
he's gonna go get him an ironing board.
right,
He's Iron Man, all
right.
right.
Uh, Shadow, no. There's only one way that ends, and that's you in a body bag. don't do that. Because number one, yes, vigilantism is a crime. Two, you could in fact be charged with impersonating law enforcement, which is a federal crime. Three, if you actually did anything to anybody, you're talking at the very least aggravated assault. At the very least, you're gonna end up in a prison block or a body bag. Don't do it. You know? So, but yeah. I don't know what people are weird. It's too bad. Too bad Nomi's not here. I got a new thing for her. Let's see if I can. There it is.
A new thing for
Upload
her.
this. Yeah,
Oh,
Kohai. Kohai's making new
yeah.
memes.
Oh, check this out just before you go off, because I know I'm gonna die laughing at that. But Phoenix Jones, folks, and I was just looking at it, doing a where is he now? He 3 years ago was arrested on drug charges, so he ended up becoming the very thing that he was fighting against.
Well, you know, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. Isn't that how the line goes?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So, y'all remember last week, Nomi told us a story about how she literally spilled a bag of beans. That was
No
pretty good,
beans.
Kohai.
No beans without you. Yeah, she's gonna think that's funny.
Yeah. No, that one, I bet that one puts her into a giggling fit.
Oh, it will.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. Thank you for that, Kohai. I have one for Ryan too, but it works both for him and for Dermy, and it's a lot worse.
Wow. That's supposed to be Shadow's butt.
No, it's just a butt. It doesn't matter. It's like we all know that he likes licking butts with that ridiculous tongue of his.
Well, I guess he cleans it thoroughly.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh that was a different thing. The bean spilling happened while she was shopping. The boba tea thing, the first time it happened, I don't know where she was. I think she was just like walking around. But the second time it happened on the stream on Ryan's channel, I was there. I was like, oh shit, hope she doesn't die. Um, hey, Bo, good to see you. Mods and fairs. Did you mean fairies?
Yeah, that's what I was like. What do you mean fairs?
And foes? There's no foes here. I mean, there might be some friendly rivalries, but I wouldn't go so far as to say foes. Yeah, Suka, that's not a bad idea. I haven't gone through everything to clip out every instance of her doing that because frankly there's a lot of footage. But it's definitely an idea worth pursuing at some point. I don't know. I
And
got a
plus,
buddy.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just say I got a buddy who's much better at that sort of thing than I am. I might ask him to look into it.
And also keep in mind too is that Nomi might consider that intellectual property, and since she's got her ASMR business going on, she might demand a donation for that video into the Nomi jar.
It doesn't matter. She's a public figure. It's out there in the open.
She's still
She
gonna.
can demand all she likes. That doesn't mean she's getting any donations out of that. Although we might put a supercut together for her just to like, I don't know, put on her streams to introduce the like Nomi does ASMR for money section of whatever. I don't know. As
And
long as it's not on this channel, I'm good with it.
what's Clue saying? Fair use? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Nomi, she'll say it's unfair use.
Doesn't matter. Legally, it's fair use.
like,
That's
like with some of those channels when you use somebody's stuff, fair use, fair
yeah.
use, and they'll do it like every 30 seconds, and they think it's legal.
Yeah. Uh it just is what it is. I mean, once you're out here, once you're doing this kind of thing, you're no longer an entirely private entity, and anything that gets put out here is fair use. It's fair game for memers. It's fair game for like the only exceptions to that would be like if you were watching somebody's entire stream like certain big streamers do and not saying a fucking word, then you would have stolen their intellectual property because you're not transforming that in any way.
Right.
You're just sitting there with your mouth agape. That's theft.
Yeah. You know what I found out? I know you and I we had a discussion about gaming and how gaming how technically it might be a violation of of using.
Yeah.
But I actually dug into it and I found out actually a lot of gaming companies now um they've actually worked into the licensing agreement that you can use it because they're like it's like you said they see it as free advertising, and so
Mhm.
that's why a lot of streamers are not getting in trouble. In fact, a lot of the newer games, they've actually set aside entire sections of the licensing agreement to make it easy for you to find it, and they actually give you the guidelines of what they allow.
Yeah, that's been a thing that's been evolving because of the propensity of like game streamers and lives and let's plays and that sort of thing. it- there are a handful of companies that don't fuck around with that, like Nintendo. You know, it's pretty hard to get away with it with Nintendo, with a lot of the Japanese companies in particular, but with Nintendo and specifically, they get really touchy about that kind of thing. Kind of like so. Last week we showed the trailer for Godzilla Minus Zero. I think that was on Saturday, and I had to actually go back and cut that entire thing out of the video because I got hit immediately by Toho Japan. They blocked it worldwide. And Japanese companies are a lot more stringent about that sort of thing than Western companies are. So, was it? Oh no, that's the wrong one there. Yeah, D-Day. That's one of the guys I was referring to. There's a number of them, but yeah, he's pretty bad about it, kind of thing. So yeah, it's Nintendo's pretty strict.
Yeah.
So I'm not less excited to see Godzilla -1 though, and I don't regret showing that trailer. It was fun. But in order to allow people who weren't there for the live to see the stream, I had to remove that and just provide the link for it.
I have to agree with Suka. It is strange to not be happy about free marketing. That is pretty stupid. It's like it's free marketing. Why are you guys tripping off of us showing something that's already on YouTube anyway? It's
Yeah.
already on YouTube.
Well, it is their property. And the thing is it isn't that we showed it, although I doubt with Toho we would have been able to get away with doing this at all. But the way we did it, we pretty much didn't say anything until except at the beginning and at the end. We kind of just played it through. I didn't even pause it, I think, which was on me. That's on nobody else. Yeah, that's which takes it out of the realm of fair use and into the whole intellectual property thing.
It's still stupid. I mean, I know what it means, but it's still stupid. It's like it's not the movie. It's a trailer of your movie. It is literally free advertising. People are saving you guys potentially. I know at the very least thousands of dollars in advertising costs, and you're tripping about that.
I mean, you're welcome. Yeah. It
Coke
is.
Bear too.
It's right. Hey, Cocaine Bear was fucking awesome. um, yeah, it is supposed to be about exposure, but generally speaking, if it's on their channel or if you're some big media conglomerate or some shit, you probably get away with that kind of thing. Or if it was advertised on, say, like network television, like say they did a couple of spots during the Super Bowl on ABC or whatever, right? They're getting they're paying to advertise their thing there, but they also have a contractual agreement in place with that broadcasting corporation.
Yeah.
Whereas I just showed their shit, so there are legal issues there.
Yeah, Kohai, the reason why they get mad is because someday, using Simon as an example, someday this channel might become monetized, and then they look at it as once this channel is monetized, anybody who goes back and watches that video from last week, well, now Sam is making money off of it.
Well, that's the theory. I'm not actually making money off of it, but if for whatever reason that video or that live stream um, was still up in its entirety and with no claims or strikes on it or whatever, and I did get monetized, like fully monetized with the ad revenue and all that stuff, yes, technically I would be making money off of their work at that point, and I understand that, you know. Um, and honestly, I hadn't considered that, but if it had come down to it, and they were like, "Hey, look, man, that's not cool," I would have taken it down anyway, you know. Because I get that. It's like, I mean, it's their property. They should be making the revenue from it. The transformative nature of fair use is nebulous, and it is difficult to navigate. I mean, we have this problem every week with Star Trek Engage, and we're getting better at navigating it. I still have a few episodes of that are still blocked because there are other things to consider when filing for an appeal, like giving them my actual physical fucking address, which is a requirement um, that I am hesitant on. But for the most part, that usually comes out in our favor and all that stuff because we are doing transformative stuff there. We stop it, we pause it all the time. It's not on the screen the whole time. We do go over the entire episode, but we take an episode that's 50 minutes long and we stretch it out over 2.5 hours and we discuss it and we joke about it the whole time. which is that falls directly under fair use. Whereas what we did with the Godzilla -1 trailer was basically just sit there with our jaws agape watching it because it was fucking awesome. We
Yeah.
basically pulled a Hassan Piker on that trailer, and that was again entirely on me, nobody else. So yeah, it just is what it is. It's tricky waters, and if you guys out there who don't have channels ever start getting into like the reaction game, you're going to find out exactly what I'm talking about, because those guys deal with that shit every single time
Every
they
day.
upload.
Yeah.
And it's tricky, and different platforms have different rules about it, and I mean, so yeah, it's you never know what kind of fun stuff you're getting into. This is YouTube is no longer the wild west of the internet. Hasn't been for a long time.
No, not since I would say since Viacom bought them initially back in 2006 or 2007. That's when everything started changing. That's when I started seeing rules and stuff start getting implemented, and I knew it right then and there. I was like, "Oh man, okay, YouTube's not gonna be the same anymore."
That's a fair point, D-Day. He's off getting his chicky nuggies made by his mom. Fucking champagne socialist. Anyway, so what's on the agenda tonight, Larry? Now that I've spent 45 minutes rambling.
Well, so guys, as you know, to start, as you know, October is fast approaching, and Samuel and Nomi and myself, um, we discussed making the entire month special, and so there's a list of things that we have that's still growing, things that we want to do with each episode. And we're actually going to start a bit early. We're going to start next week. So we're going to start with H.G. Lovecraft, who has inspired a lot of creatures and movies and things that we see today. But the man doesn't get a lot of credit for the things that he did because of the way he lived his life for the most part. And we're going to go into details with that, but we're going to start with his life. We're going to start with him next week, and then we're going to continue on Lovecraft going to the first week of October, because I mean, let's face it, Sam, as you know, I'm sure you'll agree, H.G. Lovecraft can't be covered in one show.
No, it's
This
kind of a big topic, and you're right that he doesn't get enough credit, partially, yeah, due to certain views that he held in his earlier life. I say earlier, the guy wasn't that old when he died, but he it it was also partially due to the fact that he was a relatively obscure writer
Mhm.
as well. I mean, obviously, people who write, who are inspired by him, who make movies and stuff, knew his work, but the vast populace at large really was unaware of him up until about 25 years ago, when they started reprinting some of his stuff when it came into the public domain, and um, it just started getting out there, and his name got out there, and he still doesn't receive as much credit as you should have. But the man died penniless. He was writing for an obscure magazine called Weird Tales. Uh, that only a handful of authors ever got their names like really well known for, unless you're into very specific kind genres of, like, sword and sandals kind of fantasy, or cosmic horror, or just weird science fiction, or that sort of thing. Those were always kind of niche genres, and so none of those guys were particularly well known. Some of their creations were more well known than the authors were,
Right.
and that was a big part of it, was that he lived and died in obscurity. um, and he didn't really receive credit for his own work until years and years later, and it made things worse because he was really open to other authors that he knew using his ideas and expanding on his mythos and his lore. He had no problem with other people writing stuff in his realm. He never went after anybody for, like, copyright or anything like that. um, and because he felt that they could contribute to it, they could add to it, and he basically felt like he had provided a sandbox for everybody else to play in, which they did, and they did
Hmm.
not always give him credit.
No, they no, they didn't.
you know.
Now, I was privileged in the fact that I heard about Lovecraft when I was a small child.
Mhm.
So I've known about Lovecraft for quite a few years. And anybody, if you just have a brush in with, I would say his most famous one is Cthulhu. uh, you can start seeing, you can tell even movies back then going to now. I mean, you can see his influence throughout, in movies. Even, well, I'm not gonna. I will say this: even Stephen King's you know, It itself, is a cosmic being in, I would say, in the vein of what Lovecraft has created.
Mhm. Yeah, actually, quite a few of his short stories had Lovecraftian elements as well, but like the most well-known one was probably it, and on a greater scale, the Dark Towers,
Yeah.
series. Yeah. Um, yep. Call of Cthulhu is probably his best known work. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't
So.
know what this has to do with anything, Shadow, at all.
Yeah. So, but yeah, amongst that, guys, we've got a list of things that we're getting ready for you guys. One of the thing is, those of you who may have watched last week, you saw that we came up with another activity that we're going to be doing here. It's choose your own adventures. And right now for October, I'm working on a two-part story series called Tomb of the Demon Memer, which is starring our very own Kohai.
Yeah. I'm actually Larry took me aside the other day offline, and we talked quite a while about some of his plans for the future and stuff. And yeah, this was one of the near future projects he was talking about, and we discussed it, and yeah, it sounds like fun. I had a lot of fun with that choose your own adventure stuff the last time we did it, so I know Nomi did too. Yep, yep. Yeah, it's a choose your own adventure, dude.
Yeah. and, and it was funny too because he's just like, I still laugh about that because as soon as you said, well, you know what, since I picked Shadow, I'm gonna think about Shadow. And like I said last week, the moment you said that, I knew you were gonna die. I was like, he's gonna die.
Hey, kid, look, I chose things based on what I know of you and your personality.
He sure
I was
did.
I was
He
role
did.
playing.
He did exactly. He picked. He picked the one track that I was hoping he would not pick. Of all the different tracks, and I even showed him, like I showed him the tree, the actual tree when you, because the program is called Twine, and I actually showed him the tree that had all the different options, and that particular storyline probably had about five different endings out of like
Yeah,
20 or 30 different choices, and you picked the one choice. I
I got the
was
one
like,
where Kohai murders the shit out of you. It was fun, man. You guys in the chat, yeah, some of you are old enough to remember the Choose Your Own Adventures books that were really popular in like the 70s and 80s. Man, those were fun. Those were a fun time. They were fun to do with your friends. They were fun to do by yourself. It was kind of like I mean, even Mad Libs is a fun activity, and it's like you don't need anything but your imagination, really. I mean, in the case of Mad Libs, you need a pencil too, but yeah, but that's it was good, wholesome fun stuff you could do with your friends and your family, and your kids if you had them, your parents. It was your siblings. It was a good time, and I think this is a good thing. I think Larry, what you're doing here is a positive thing.
yeah, and yeah, I enjoyed it. And the funny thing is that the one choice that you and Nomi didn't pick, that one person was that one track was, it was Joker voice. So basically, the characters for that particular adventure, it was Joker Voice, Nomi, and Shadow.
That's messed up, Suka.
A sexy cactus. That cactus was sexy. And you know what?
Yeah.
Initially, I thought about that. I thought about having Kohai like ram a cactus up his butt and all the way out through his eyeballs, like if he gets caught. But I was like, that's a little too
Ouch.
much.
That's kind of brutal, dude.
Well, see, you guys have to understand the way that I envisioned Kohai's character. I envisioned her like she's like a female Michael Myers, and so Michael Myers wasn't like Jason, like Jason Voorhees. He would just, well, I mean, he got colorful with his with his skills too, but Michael Myers liked to watch you suffer. I don't know if you do you remember that one kill Michael Myers did where he stabbed that guy into the wall and just stood there and just watched him struggle and shake to
Hmm. Hey,
death.
kid, I told you, go back and yeah, it was you weren't misrepresented at all there. I don't feel. Um, but and honestly, kid, yeah, your nature is gonna get you in some trouble if you don't curve it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think Larry did a pretty good job representing you overall, aside from the flight thing. That was just one of those, I don't know, it's a fantasy adventure.
Yeah, and I actually forgot to put that ability in there. Yeah, like he was the one I forgot to put all of that in there. I forgot to put all his little powers in there. Everybody else had theirs except for Shadow.
Yep. No, I know I did.
You did.
Yeah. Each
You did.
pass should lead to a Kohai meme. I don't know, man. Some of those get pretty dark.
Well, and the good thing about the character, because the reason why it's called Tomb of the Demon Memer, because originally it was just going to be one special from it was going to be one story done from Kohai's perspective, but then Sam gave me a great idea. He was like, why don't you do like a prequel to that, like how Kohai becomes the unstoppable killer, and then move forward. And I said I could do that, but then I would have to split it because that's a lot for one story, and the format has to be a bit different. So the way I'm writing it right now, certain things, yeah, you still have different choices and stuff like that, but it can't be, oh, you're dead, it's over, like, the death, like somebody dies, it might change to a different person's perspective, you know or yeah, it has to change to somebody's perspective, and then certain other things has to be done depending on who you are.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's also longer. So um but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but I'm
it's
looking forward to it.
yeah, it's coming along nicely. Doesn't it doesn't look like Kohai's looking forward to it.
She's talking about the whole cactus through the eyes thing
Yeah.
from the butt. So
Now, Shadow, you'll be happy to know, Shadow. It's a prequel to prequel to the horror, so you're not in it. But
no,
don't
he just
worry.
kid likes good stories, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, he doesn't have to worry because once one and two is done, then it jumps past the horror because Shadow's character is the one that got away. So you know how, like, he's basically Kohai's Laurie Strode.
Oh, so you're the scream queen, kid.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, you better get yourselves like one of those 70s wigs with the ridiculous bangs.
And get a chastity belt to protect yourself from that cactus.
Yeah. No, it's not. That's not a bad idea though. I'm looking forward to it myself. I think it'll be a lot of fun when it's completed. And and for those of you who watch, Larry puts a lot of work to into the things that he presents to us all and all that. And so uh, yeah, it's very cool stuff. And also, I know you're not ready to necessarily announce the actual channel or anything like that, but I don't know if you wanted to go over any, um, I guess,
Superficial.
plans for the new channel that
Yeah,
you're
yeah, I
planning
can do
out.
that. Yeah, I can do that. So basically, I took about a year and a half thinking about what I was gonna do, and I'm surrounded by people who have pretty much cornered most of the markets. There's too many. There's a lot of people talking about politics. I didn't want to do that. There's a lot of people doing reactions, um, and I didn't want to do that because um, I don't want to base my channel solely off of tearing down somebody else's work, you know. And then of course you got the copyright strikes, which I believe most of the time are frivolous. The people, I believe, that are very well aware that what they're doing is not, that is probably not legal, but YouTube's algorithm is letting them get away with it depending on how big they are. Because by now, I think by now, YouTube should have said something universal by now. I mean, every week they're hitting you guys, and it's obvious that you're not
Oh yeah,
violating.
yeah. You mean Paramount? Yeah.
Yeah, Paramount. Yeah, by
Oh,
now
YouTube doesn't
YouTube
give a
says.
shit. They don't care.
Look at all the money Fresh and Fit was making up. Well, but then again, Fresh and Fit doesn't fit the narrative.
We
So
aren't making them any money. That's
yeah.
the thing.
But the other thing too is that everybody calls me the storyteller. I love telling stories, and I like playing video games. Now let me stress this: I am not a gamer. I like to play video games and I like to cheat. So so I use mods and everything. I don't care what anybody says. If I'm gonna play, I'm gonna play on myself. But I want to give everybody an escape, and I want to create stories for you guys that can immerse you into something and really just give you an escape. It's not it's it's just something that I've always liked to write since I was a kid, and that's what my I decided that's what my channel is going to be. It doesn't have to be the biggest channel in the world. It doesn't have to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, I, I haven't even thought about putting up like um, like a cash up or anything like that. I felt like, you know, if I decide to do that, then I would have to look at how many members I have, and I would want people to have a reason to want to do it. Not just put it out there and I've got like 3 subscribers, or 30, or 100. um, but I would just basically, it would be like just basically, me staying on a corner, reading a storybook or something, and just having a tip jar right there. And if you want to, if you want to participate in that, you can choose your adventure with linking to different videos.
That's
Um,
actually a cool idea.
yeah, you know what? The thing with Twine, and I'm trying to find out how to do it. I think there might be a way to do that, but there's a YouTuber that, and I actually found out how to use Twine, but the guy actually went into the coding and he actually turned it into a video game. So the character was actually it would update in real time. So if his character used magic, like say he could use magic 5 times, he would use it and it would automatically update to 4 times in real time.
Mhm.
And but the way he and it's about an hour long video, but the way that he explains it, I can tell that he's operating off of the assumption that whoever's watching already knows how to code.
Mhm.
You know, because it's more of a,
Yeah.
oh, you just do this and you just do that and see how I did this and da da da. And I'm like, dude, you might want to slow down with what you're doing. 'But yeah, I'll definitely come over. I'll be on Netter's Network next Thursday. Um, and I'm gonna go into detail as to some of the things I'll be doing. there is a series that I'm working on right now that I'm writing. Um,
Night Shadow.
Night Shadow, and like I said, just stay tuned, guys. And when I come on next week, I'll also go in detail on that. But as for the rest of October, we've got a lot planned for you guys that we want to do. We still
Mhm.
Kohai. I don't know if you're gonna do I don't know if Kohai is gonna do a another Kohai quiz, but we've set aside space for that. And you guys will be getting the usual two quizzes. You're going to be getting that as well. But yeah, we're going to start with Lovecraft, and then we're going to move into um, you know authors and just really people that made the month of October one of the funnest times of the year. Right, John Carpenter, creative Halloween, all of that.
Nope, that works, Kohai. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. And I think she had said that she was planning on it. She just, like real life stuff happens, and so you got to work
Yeah,
around that. But
yeah,
also, I think because we're kind of focused a little bit on Lovecraft for the spooky season, we'll probably be making mention of probably some things we've made mention of in the past, but we'll be recommending like cosmic horror kind of movies and you know
books,
things
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 like
of
that.
that nature. Um, you know, uh, Probably just get that out there a little bit. One of my pals on Twitter has a reaction YouTube channel. Goes by Rhetorical Thrill. She's a kick in the pants, by the way. Go check her out. She's a lot of fun. And she was asking the other day on she's like, hey, so it's the spooky season, any suggestions? And the first thing that pops into my head is Slither.
Hmm.
Right, which if you guys haven't seen Slither, it's James Gunn's first movie after he left Trauma, and it's fantastic and it's hilarious and it's kind of disturbing. Stars Nathan Fillion, and it involves you know, tentacled aliens and acid spitting zombies. It's a fucked up movie. Um, and so that was the first thing that popped into my head. And then I was just like, you know what? So I tagged her on Twitter and I was like, I know that was the first thing I said, but if you're going to do it, get weird with it. And I listed like 4 or 5 other cosmic horror movies that I love and that I think would I don't know how well they would do in the reaction circuit because with a lot of those channels they pick the movies based on what does best in the algorithm. So a lot of those guys watch each other to see who's doing really well and who isn't and what films are doing really well and so on. But one of the things I like about her is that she will do obscure shit, because she wants to. And so so I was just like, all right, well, if you're gonna get weird about it, let's get weird about it. Here's a bunch of cosmic horror movies, also Slither. So, and she was just like, well, take it into consideration. I mean, I'm not her Patreon, or anything like that, but I interact with her pretty regularly and all that stuff. So I don't know, maybe we'll see her doing some of those things. But as a result of that, it got me thinking about this. And then Larry brought up doing Lovecraft for the um, kind of the overarching theme.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know what? That just gives me an excuse to go back and watch all these great fucking terrible movies.
And you know what?
So,
There's a YouTube channel called, and I don't know how they're getting away with this. There's a YouTube channel called Creature Features, and every Friday they show horror movies, scary movies from like the early '80s or '70s, all the way through
mhm.
the '90s. And they show them in their entirety. I don't know how they're getting away with that.
Probably because the studios that held the rights to them are gone, would be my guess.
Maybe I don't know. But they have their own
No.
website and everything. They have
Yeah,
a
well,
website. They have an Instagram. I'm like, how are you guys doing this?
public domain works differently for movies than it does for like written word stuff. But written word stuff, it's like 70 years. You got to wait. Um, it's a little less than that. It's like 50, 60 years you got to wait. And that's assuming that they don't re-up their copyright on that. For instance, I think it's this year, Walt Disney's version of Mickey Mouse is coming into the public domain this year and next year.
Walt Disney's version. I thought he created Mickey Mouse.
He did, but like we're talking Steamboat Willie version, like that particular design and and voice and all that stuff. All of that's coming into the public domain because it's been long enough. But part of the reason that it hasn't already been is because Disney keeps changing things and making things and sort of re-upping their copyright on it. Disney is also responsible for directly for. Are are you wrapping a present?
No, eating peanuts.
Oh, okay. So I was like, what the hell is that crinkling in my ears? So essentially, Disney is the main company that lobbied Congress to extend, the rights to who the rights holders and to prevent things from falling into the public domain. Um, like last year, for example, A.A. Milne's Winnie the Pooh characters, the Hundred Acre Wood and all that stuff, all went into the public domain, and that's how we ended up with an atrocity like Blood and Honey. Um, which, for those of you who don't know, is a horrific little terrible fucking movie where basically Pooh Bear and Piglet go on a killing spree.
And they got there's a sequel coming out.
Yeah, and nobody can figure out why because the first one sucked.
Yeah, and they're
you
not
know,
even the bears. They're the humans wearing Winnie the Pooh
mhm.
and what were that little ones? Piglets. They were just wearing their masks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what it is. But because of that, like you can now make anything you want Winnie the Pooh related. What you can't do is specifically use the Disney versions of those characters. But you can make your own versions of those characters all you like, all the live long day, because Disney no longer holds the rights because it's public domain now. And the same thing is happening with Mickey Mouse, I think, next year, like early next year. Um, which of course is a problem for Disney because that's their flagship character. But yeah, it's just but it does generally, it works a little differently for movies than it does for like let's take Lovecraft for instance. Most of his stuff's been in the public domain since the 90s,
Hmm.
right? Which is about 50 years. Yeah, the 90s, the 2000s, so which is about 50 years after the last of his stuff was published. And so, yeah, all of Lovecraft's work is in public domain. Anybody on Earth can make a Lovecraftian movie if they want to, based on his characters and his locations and the names he made up and all that stuff. That's a free for all for everybody. Um, but all of that was written down, so that took longer. With movies, I think because of Disney's influence with Congress, it's 30 years, provided everything goes the way it's supposed to. After 30 years, then something happens there. So I might be a little bit wrong about that. I'd recommend going and looking up copyright code for those of you who are interested. I don't think I actually have the numbers exactly right, but basically, yeah, it takes less time for movies to come into public domain than it does for like written works, kind of thing. So if the what you're talking about, the channel that's uploading like full movies, is doing things from the 70s, that was 50 years ago.
Yeah, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Right, right. But yeah, but like the 70s was 50 years ago. That was half a
Yeah,
century ago. So, which is a
yeah,
little crazy to think about, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. It is. But I mean, most of the stuff that I've seen is like I said. I know they're showing something tonight because it came across my news feed, and it's from like 1981, I think.
Hmm.
It's on right now, in fact. But it's either on right now or it's going off. But yeah, I mean, it's copyright's a thing. but
Yeah.
going into tonight, guys, so we have some infamous news. Um, we pulled up. We're gonna have the top science fiction movies and the deadliest creatures out there. Um, and I kind of looked at one of the lists and for that and that, it kind of shocked me. It shouldn't, but I was like, of all the things in this, okay.
Fair enough.
But here's the first thing I want to show you. And actually, I'm glad that you're here and not in. I mean, Godspeed to know me, but I'm definitely glad that you're here because this is definitely your fault.
Oh god damn it.
There, Amazon driver in serious condition after highly venomous rattlesnake bite.
I had nothing to fucking do with that. I did hear about it, but no, I didn't have anything to do with that
You
shit.
had everything to do with it.
I
All
don't
you guys
control
was
the damn
complaining.
things.
All you guys was complaining. I tried to tell you what this man does with rattlesnakes, and then you took his side, and he stopped doing what he was doing. Now somebody in Florida and it got bit delivering a package.
The only thing I do with rattlesnakes is occasionally eat them.
You heard it here, folks.
What? They're good.
Oof. Don't need the sound for that.
Diet sodas and diabetes. What's that got to do with snakes?
Yeah, let me. He escaped. Sometimes. Oh, that's not.
Well,
Oh,
Suka, you don't eat the poison glands, man. You you eat the meat. It's
yeah,
like
yeah. You just don't eat the
you
poison.
you remove
But
the head and the tail. Those are inedible.
yeah, but yeah. Basically, this lady, this Amazon driver, she was delivering a package in Florida, and there was a eastern diamondback hiding in the person's bushes, and a lady walks up to the door, sets the package down, and a snake reached out and touched someone, meaning her. Um, so I don't understand. I hear all these people saying, "Oh, they don't strike first. They just, you just leave them alone and you'll be okay." This lady didn't even see the snake. It was nowhere. She's dropping a package down, and a
Is it all
snake.
on video?
Well, I thought it was going to be on that video, but sometimes this New York Post is kind of tricky because they'll put videos up that has nothing to do with um with the article.
Well, the reason I ask is because if it's not on video, then we're taking her word for it that she didn't hear it, that she didn't step on it, that nothing happened that provoked the damn animal. And I'm not saying that it couldn't have happened like that. It sure could have. Yeah, occasionally. I mean, animals are like people. They have fucking personalities of their own. Some of them are ill-tempered, but um, it's
Maybe she was trying to do what you
also
do.
it's also likely that it's possible at the very least that something happened that she's not fucking saying. Like I poked at it with a fucking stick and pissed it off first. Because why would you admit to that? You know. So yeah, I don't know if without like
Well,
actually seeing it happen,
well,
I
here's the
don't know.
photo. Well, I doubt that that can't be the same photo.
That
That
might
can't
be
be
the
the same.
same snake. That might be the actual snake, but I don't like if I without seeing actually what exactly happened. And maybe she's telling the full truth and all that, and that's all also possible. I have to consider that as a possibility too. But without seeing it, like there's no way of really verifying that. Um,
I don't know though, man. I mean, I admit it. Like I'm a bit skittish around rattlesnakes,
mhm.
but I've been watching a lot of videos and everything, and yeah, I mean, for the most part, I mean, they'll warn you, but they'll leave you alone as long as you don't walk over and start kicking at them and trying to pick them up and things like that. I mean,
Well, yeah, if there's a way out, they'll do everything they can to stay away from you and to get away
yeah,
from you. You
yeah.
know
So, what may have happened? It just says that because it doesn't say what she did.
that yeah, that's what I'm getting
So
at. Is
what?
like
Here
I
it
don't
goes.
know.
The driver walked to the door, put the package down, and was struck by the snake on the back of the leg, just above the knee.
That's just above the knee. How short is this lady?
That's what I'm saying because they're very
That
heavy snakes, and they typically don't strike above the knee.
they typically don't strike above the fucking ankle
Yeah,
because they've got to in order to strike, basically, they have to launch 2/3 of their fucking body into
right.
the air.
Hey,
2/3 of solid muscle.
but you know what though? There is I did see a YouTube video. There was a guy that was he was showing people how the snake boosts work, and he went to pick up a Western Diamondback, and it was 8 feet tall, and he just said the same thing. He said, "Hey, these snakes are heavy, so they don't strike above the ankle." Where that sucker tried to tag him on his knee, and it shocked him, and he said, "Wait a minute," and he just stopped it. He said that snake should not have been able to do that.
I'm not saying that they can't do it. I'm just saying that generally, because like they're reptiles, right? And
Yeah,
reptiles rely on first of all, they're hunters, and hunters in nature typically miss more than they succeed when it comes to actually hunting. So they've only got so much fucking energy from eating to expend anyway. Um, because if they miss and then they miss a meal, I mean, they kind of fucked. So they don't expend energy generally that they don't have to, and lifting themselves that high is a lot of extra expended energy. Um, and I'm not saying that they can't or won't do it. I'm just saying that it's not a very common thing, you know. Um, but
yeah, it's not common at all.
yeah, what's really funny though, guys in the chat. Larry's not comfortable around these things at all, and he's moving to a place that's chock fucking full of them.
Well, I've been educating myself, so
Hmm.
I'm cool now. It's just you know,
Yeah. Well, and that's key to any fear really is to learn about the thing that makes you afraid, um, because it is easier to deal with. The fear itself is easier to deal with if you understand the thing that you're afraid of.
yeah, and plus, it's not like I've never lived in. I mean, I lived in the California desert, when I was
Hmm.
working over there and when I was stationed there, and we had, Mojave greens, and I mean, we're standing outside pulling road guard. There's no lights around except for the stars in the damn sky, and everything is out. Giant
Hmm.
tarantulas, sidewinders, Western Diamondbacks, Mojave greens, you name it, they were all out there. Coyotes, every doggone thing.
Well, there are no snakes in Ireland either, and there's people there. Just saying. Australia though, yeah, lots
Yeah.
of lots of fucked up shit in Australia.
Well, it's
Like,
got the inland taipan, and that's one of the worst snakes in the world to get bit by.
it's the first or
Or
second
it's the
deadly
eastern brown,
venomous
I
snake
think.
on. They have
I
both of
think it's
them
the
are on
brown.
Australia.
Yeah.
Both of those snakes are in Australia,
Yeah,
and
they're in
they're
Australia.
I don't remember which one comes in first, but they are the two
It's the
deadliest
brown.
venomous snakes on Earth.
The
Yeah.
brown snake comes in first.
Oh, it gets worse. The fifth deadliest snake on Earth, the yellow-banded sea snake, hangs out in the Great Coral Reef, just
Okay.
off the coast of Australia.
Yep. Everything is. And Australia has those little dang near microscopic box jellyfish too that can kill you.
Well, and great whites. They got great
They
whites
got the
too,
great
along with the
whites.
saltwater crocodiles and
You got
fucking
those venomous ants that can kill you.
kangaroos that can kick a hole
Kangaroos.
through your spine from your stomach. They've got fucking giant flightless birds that apparently organize well enough to defeat an armed, with machine guns, military fighting
Emu.
force
Yeah.
twice.
And then you've got the most venomous spider in the world there, the Sydney funnel web is there. I mean,
Yeah,
and
it's
those suckers are like daddy long legs.
mhm,
You
yeah,
go digging around your backyard, you will find a Sydney funnel web.
yeah. But we're not really wanted anywhere, so we might as well go where we like. There's an argument to be made that there's a bunch of people that don't want us here either in America. So, you know, uh, but yeah, no. The thing about Ireland though, Ireland is so regarding snakes in Ireland. The legend has it that Saint Patrick drove all the snakes from Ireland in a miraculous display of the power of the Holy Trinity moving through him. That's the story. The fact is that there were never any snakes in Ireland to begin with. There aren't even fucking fossils of the damn things there.
Mm.
There have never been snakes on that island. There is, however, an island just off of is it Cape Horn down in South America? Is like the tip. I think it's Cape Horn, or is Cape Horn in Africa? I don't remember which cape it is. It's one of the two big capes. Um, that is I think it's called Snake Island, and it is chock full of, I think, the third or fourth deadliest species of snake in the world, who just breed and eat each other all the time. There isn't a square foot of bare rock on that island that isn't covered with bunches of them just squirming together. And it is forbidden by, I think, Argentinian and Chilean authorities to set foot on that rock because you're just going to die very quickly, because apparently they're very aggressive.
Hmm.
But they only live on that island. But they're all that lives on that island. Like, I don't think there's even much in the way of vegetation there. Just rock and snakes. I forget what they're called, though. So, but yeah, super fun. Suka asked a question earlier I was going to try and answer. So that happens, actually. The venomous snakes do occasionally, especially if they're the kind of snakes who eat other snakes, like cobras or asps or that sort of thing. They do occasionally mistake their own tails for another snake. It does happen. And they will strike and they will sink their fangs. And the thing about that is because the venom is produced in their own bodies, they have an immunity to their own venom. Generally, a species is immune to the venom of its species, generally, but that's not always the case. But 9 times out of 10, because it's created organically in their own biological systems, while take two rattlesnakes, while their venom is very, very similar, it has the same kind of effects and all that stuff. The venom that each snake produces is actually unique to that snake. That's why when you get bit, they prefer that you have the live snake that actually bit you, so that they can milk it and produce a more effective anti-venom out of it. Whereas other snake venom will work for that, it's preferable to have the snake that bit you because it's biologically compatible with the venom that they've injected into you, kind of thing. So generally speaking, like that, most snakes are immune to their own venom. I hope that helps. So
Yeah. Now, here's another. Here's something I was reading about earlier. So Yellowstone. I I don't really. I know we've read about incidences like this before, but I don't understand why people can't learn their damn lessons or just be smart and leave these animals alone. This guy thought it was a good idea to walk up and act in a manner that a wild bison interpreted as a challenge to its authority.
what the fuck do I keep telling you guys? Don't mess with the fluffy cows. Just don't do it. We get 2 or 3, sometimes 5 deaths, usually tourists, all from bison every fucking year.
Yep.
Every year it happens. Usually New Yorkers or like, people from Tokyo, actually, tourists. But yeah, it's usually people who've never been outside of a fucking metropolitan area, and they're like, "Oh, look, fluffy cows." And every time, the fucking bison kills somebody, you know.
Hmm.
And then the policy is that they have to then go find that animal and kill it, which is a kind of a problem for their species because there ain't that fucking many of them left in the wild at all.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, because once it kills one human, now it's going to interpret everybody every human as a threat.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't do that, they can't take the chance.
Right, and
You
that's
know.
sad. And then there was it didn't just stop then. There was a tourist was messing with a moose, and that didn't go well for him. And then another guy that so when bull elk when it's rutting season, basically when they're battling to mate with a female and they're battling each
Mhm.
other. Well, this middle-aged guy thought it would be a good idea to directly challenge one of the bull
Oh,
elks.
that was stupid.
Yeah. Luckily
For
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 him, sorry, go ahead.
for reference, these things are fucking huge.
Yeah.
They're not small animals.
They're like the size of horses. Dang near. You
Their
know.
heads are actually bigger than horse heads.
Yeah, and with the antlers, I mean, luckily for the guy, the 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 bull elk, from what I'm reading, the bull elk basically laughed him off and didn't even pay him. He just looked at it, just sized him up, was like, "This guy's not even a challenge," and just turned around and went back to what it was doing.
Yeah, because dude wasn't a threat and he fucking knew it.
Yeah.
You know, uh, go back to the moose thing though. Why like anybody who's ever seen a
So
moose in person in real life? I mean, they're 8 fucking feet tall at
they're
the
8 feet
shoulder.
tall. They're. I mean, even with the zoo over here where I live, I was able to get up close to these animals. And one thing I disagree with the zoo is that the lions were walled off. There was no way that the lions was getting to any of us. I mean, you can. They had them. They put animals out, as prey animals for them so that they don't lose their hunting instincts.
Mhm.
And they gave them a wide area to hunt and roam, but
Yeah.
it was built and down so low that there was no way that those lions could get their freaking teeth, their fangs on you. And then they had this old airplane that had like thick glass and stuff, and so they were sleeping on top of each other and just knocked out. The one animal that they had, and I'm not talking about the little flamingos and stuff that walk around free and do
Yeah.
whatever they want. But out of the big animals, they had this bison. The bison sitting on top of a hill. They put a fence around the bison, right? The fence was about 2 feet high. And I'm looking at this fully grown bison and I'm thinking, if this fool decides to go on a rampage, there's nothing stopping him.
Is it
They put a
barbed wire
bison.
or electric or something?
No. Imagine one of those little, it's just regular wood. You know how you have you have wood stakes in the ground
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
then you have wood going across. It was 2 feet high. This bison was fully grown.
Yeah, it'd jump over that. It doesn't even have to break it down.
Yeah, doesn't even have
Yeah.
to break it down. And he's just looking at everybody. And I was just like, yeah. And of course my wife and my son was with me. And I was like, man, if this guy decides to jump and go on a rampage, there's nothing to stop him.
I've seen them jump each other. Just so you guys are aware, a bison is a big fucking animal, and they are not light, and their legs are like not. They seem disproportionately small for their bulk, but I have at full speed seen them jump each other. Their clearance rate isn't great, but they do make it over.
Yeah.
It's- you know, um, but and you're talking about an animal that weighs like 3,600 pounds. You know, it just yeah, a little fence ain't stopping shit if it decides it's gonna fuck some stuff up.
I don't know.
Granted, most of the time, unless they're stampeding, which is a fear-based reaction, um, or you get between it and its young, or you do something else to challenge it or whatever. Most of the time, they're pretty docile, but they don't fuck around when it comes to if they think they need to fight, they will kill anything that comes near them.
Hmm.
You know, and the moose are worse.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, speaking of that, so it was a lady with the moose at Yellowstone. So she decided that it was okay to walk directly up to the moose as close as she could and start taking photos. The moose didn't like that. So the so the moose turns around. The, the moose turns around and starts walking towards her. She walks over behind a tree stump, thinking that the tree stump is going to stop the moose.
Mhm. No, that's not gonna do it. I mean, a Volkswagen van wouldn't stop one. I don't
Hmm.
know why she'd think a tree stump would. But that is true. But to be fair, Indian elephants are smaller than the giant bison. So, I mean, those things were on a different. Those were megafauna. They were something else entirely.
Dang near Jurassic.
Well, they were, yeah, yeah, they were. not quite that old, but yeah, they were from a period when mammals were much, 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 much bigger than they are now. Generally speaking, you had the oh, what the hell was it called? The Smilodon, the saber-toothed cats.
Hmm.
They were about the size of, well, of modern bison. They made all of the cats that we have alive today look pretty fucking small in comparison. I mean, a tiger is a 15 fucking 100 pound animal,
Yeah.
you know, and it would look like a house cat next to one of these things. Um, the only exception I could think of would probably be you seen the videos that have been going around lately of the ligers?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but those are mutant freaks, and you can
Yeah. They're
tell by their
mutants.
bodies, and they're, yeah,
They
they have
can't
all kinds of
reproduce.
tumors. They can't reproduce because they're sterile like or like mules are, um, yeah, and they get tumors all the time, and because they're unnatural.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So you see this. You know what this is, right? Folks, I don't know if you guys know what this is, but we live in a world today where people can pretty much, or they're trying to identify as whatever they want. Hell, I even came across a news report of a lady, a teacher, who works, of course, teaches during the day, goes home, and identifies as a furry at night. She made a full on furry costume by hand, and when she is not teaching the kids, she is in that costume walking around outside and
if she keeps it,
identifies as, yeah.
if she keeps it outside of, you know, work and away from kids, I don't care. But
No, it's her business. It's just the fact that she's identifying that. What you're looking at right now is a video of 1,000 people in Germany, 1,000 Germans who identify as dogs and thought it was a good idea to congregate in front of a building and do this.
yep, I hate this.
They are
I hate.
howling at the moon.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, is that a little kid on that dude's lap?
Yeah, I think. No, I think that's another.
Oh,
Maybe. But yeah, this goes on for 30 seconds. I think that's the person that's filming it. I think that's all they could take.
it's pretty much all I can take. I don't want to hear that shit again. What did I just say? No, that's ridiculous. You're not dogs. You're human beings. I mean, you're not even related to dogs except in the mammalian sense. You know, that's just people are so fuck. Why is it always Germany too? Right? Germany's where we get like dendrophiliacs and like shit porn. It's always Germans. It's always Germans doing this degenerate shit.
Why would you? I
What the
hear. Wait a
fuck is
minute.
wrong with Germany?
The Japanese, from what I heard, they do that poop porn too.
Yeah, but they got
Pooping
it from the
peeing.
Germans. Und Scheiße, mein Geden. Yeah, it's just ugh. And like the first time I ever heard of dendrophilia, I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh, it's people who like to rub their junk on trees." Yeah, that's apparently a real thing, and yep, it's a German thing. They export perversion. Like they export excellent automotives. Like they do awesome engineering and stuff.
They
They
do.
basically invented the modern rocket. I mean, they've done a lot of great things for the world. Um, they've done some pretty awful fucking things to the world too. But yeah, everything else is basically about like, oh hey, let's have these open bathhouses where everybody's fucking naked, and like we're all tainting the water in the pool with our syphilis and sexual perversions. There are women over there who have so many 12 gauge piercings in their labias that it actually hangs down because the metal fucking stretches the flesh from its weight.
Well, I know now.
Yeah, I wish I didn't know either, buddy. This is one of those, because I had to see it, you all have to have it in your heads too, kind of deals. But it's just like, what the fuck is wrong with Germans? That's my question.
I don't know, man. Maybe,
Right.
maybe. I mean, maybe that's the side effect of Oktoberfest.
I see, D-Day, I would agree with you, except that the Weimar Republic happened right before then, and it was actually worse than what we're seeing now. Much worse. I don't get it. I don't. Uh, yeah, it's legal in Canada now because fucking Trudeau. You know why it's legal? It's probably because Trudeau is getting banged by a dog. Actually, I would say he was banging the dog, but yeah, look at the way he sits. He's definitely catching. That's all I'm saying.
But from who? Actually, I don't. I don't want to know.
I don't think it matters, man. It ain't his wife, that's for sure.
Well, it might be. I mean, she might have a strap on.
Didn't they divorce recently?
As if that's gonna stop it.
With her, it might. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I mean, if she's pissed off at him, you know.
Well, she probably found him getting railed by a bunch of young guys. That'd be my
Yeah.
guess. And I'm speculating here, YouTube. None of this is factual. I don't know for a fact. I simply, suspect very strongly that that is the case. Yeah, it is what it is. I don't know. Fucking, I don't like Trudeau. And I think Canada really needs to step up and not like him as hard as I don't like him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. You might be right about that. I don't see a lot of like borderline retarded people fingering their pets. So, I mean,
That came out of left field.
yeah, it is what it is. Anyway,
Well, moving on, folks. I'm not going to show this, but you probably heard about this too. This man went and bought a chocolate egg for his daughter, and he happened to open it, and there were insects in it eating the chocolate, like worms and everything.
yeah,
That's why I'm careful with chocolate. That's why I don't eat it often.
I'm very careful with chocolate because some fool might have mixed it with, peanut butter or some other abomination. By the way, I'm going to get into it with green-haired anti-liberal tomorrow if she graces us with her presence on the show, because she's apparently a big Reese's fan, and personally, I think that Reese might have been the Antichrist.
Hey, what?
Because, all right, so hear me out. You know that as far as the gods and I go, right, we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but on this, we are of one accord. Ruining perfectly good fucking chocolate with goddamn peanut butter is an abomination unto the Lord. And yes, I think Reese of Reese's Pieces might in fact have been the Antichrist.
Wow.
I don't fucking like chocolate and peanut butter mixed together. I think it's awful.
Yeah, there's a lot of sweets out there that you don't like
Yes, there is.
because
And cookies. I don't like peanut butter. in general.
I'm not the biggest fan of peanut butter either, so I can't argue with you on that.
Yeah. Chocolate,
My
peanut
son
butter, and
loves.
sugar molecules. Yeah, a lot of people seem to. That's what I'm saying, man. The Antichrist fucking seduced the whole world. It's that chocolate peanut butter. It's ugh.
Sauerkraut and cheese pizza. Ugh, cold eye.
That's awful. Speaking once again of Germany, like their food is awful, right? And you're
You don't
talking to
like
somebody.
schnitzel?
No, I do not. I don't like any. I don't like most German food.
You don't like
It's just
schnitzel? You don't like their beer?
no, not really. I don't really. I'm not a beer guy. That's a bit of a unfair thing for me to comment on because I don't really like beer in general. But
Okay.
but yeah, this yeah, but I have German ancestry, so you'd think I'd be into shit like rotten cabbage, or as they call it, sauerkraut. But I'm not, because it's rotten cabbage. It's the same problem I have with fucking kimchi. They call it fermented, which is a nice way of saying it's gone bad.
Yeah, it's rotten. They stick it they grow it and then they stick it back in the ground and they let it go bad.
Yeah. So nope, no German food for me. Just I'd sooner eat haggis than sauerkraut. if that helps put things in perspective.
That's bad. Oh, there was this video I was gonna show you, right? So Venezuela's there's a prison that there's a Venezuelan prison, right? And I there's a YouTube program called not it's YouTube, no, Netflix, called World's Toughest Prisons, and I think I've seen this prison on that show. And what it is that the cops, the guards, they basically let the inmates handle themselves, so they have no interaction with them, and they're on their own. Well, apparently earlier this week they decided to storm the prison because the cops went in there. They found the prisoners had made a zoo, a casino, a nightclub, a pool, and a supermarket. so so I mean,
Yeah. I
oh,
mean,
let me.
it's not like they got anything else to do to pass the time, right?
Yeah, and it's like, why are you getting mad? You let them do this for years. Now all of a sudden, now you want to bust them and take all this stuff from them. I thought it was messed up.
Zoológico de Tocorón fue tomado por mí.
Look, they got, even the guards can't, even the cops can't believe it. They got flamingos. They got pigs. I mean, I don't know what quality of bacon that is. They're probably
Only one
saving
way to
them.
find out.
Yeah, they're gonna cut the highest quality and I'm guessing this is the nightclub. Secret tunnel. You can tell he's scared.
Cuidadito, Juan.
See, if they had time to build
What was that?
that was an explosion. If they had time to build all of that, though, why didn't they just dig a tunnel out of the prison?
Well, I mean, if you've got it made like that, I mean, come on. They're gonna get caught again. And if you're running things, it's also about power too. If you're running things down there, you go out, you're not running nothing, and you're on a run.
Yeah.
Tenemos visita. Aquí hay visita, hay cachorro. No hay señal, ya vamos a liberar por aquí ya que eso. Hay visita.
Man, how you got kids in there?
See, that leads me to believe that
Ese
they do
llamado es
have
para
tunnels leading to the
los
outside.
cuerpos de derechos
guess so.
humanos, Fiscalía General de la República,
You just said something about pork.
Fiscalía General de la República. ¿Están escuchando? Estallaron una bomba.
And you know, especially as much as Venezuela is suffering from food, I mean, you know, they they saw the pictures like, oh no, we're taking these. And where'd they get them? I mean, it's like you said, they had, that tunnel had to go to the outside. It had to.
Yeah, no, they likely smuggled them in, or they got outside and they maybe caught some wild pigs or some shit like that and brought them in and then
Estallaron una
started breeding
bomba.
them.
Auxilio, derechos humanos.
Or they stole them from local farms. I don't know how well farms are doing down in Venezuela though, because Venezuela's in the shit.
Yeah.
Like for instance, how the hell are they paying these soldiers?
With the pigs they found.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it, you would think that they were like in the middle of in the middle of Vietnam back in the 70s doing a raid.
Yeah, that does look like repurposed U.S. gear, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Probably is.
Probably. I was just about to say that. Probably is.
Yeah. Most of South America is not faring that well right now.
Look at that. Bullets. I mean, they were planning something, obviously.
I wonder if they were planning to defend themselves, like dig in and like defend it. I mean, if you're gonna build yourself an underground bunker like that, with basically, I don't think that was a zoo. I think they're calling it a zoo. I don't think that's a zoo. I think it was a farm. I think they were raising food.
Yeah.
I think they were preparing because I mean, words got look, if they're bringing shit in from the outside, then they must know how bad shit's gotten in Venezuela, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that might also explain why they didn't run off. It's because they're like, look, we can survive here.
Yeah, and getting everything that they need.
And that's probably why there were women and children there. They were probably bringing family members in.
Now, this I've been wanting to show you all week. This golfer flips out, man. I don't know if you see this, right? But over a golf ball.
We got a Karen on the golf course right now.
I'm going to take your clubs.
I'm not getting a fight at a golf course.
Then leave. I'm going to stand here and you can complain. Goodbye.
I'm not complaining. You're the one.
No, you approached me and I asked you to no longer speak.
You took her ball.
Please don't speak to me.
We're coming over here.
You took her ball.
Bro, you took her ball.
Dude, I'm not going to fight over.
You need money for a golf ball.
Here it comes.
Walter. Oh, here we go.
You see that?
Oh.
That's what you spend the heck. You would have tested God, you come get it.
Okay, he's mentally ill.
Oh.
Let's move
You
along.
think I'm mentally ill?
I know you.
Bend the head. Hey, leave me alone.
So I was able to find out that that guy has a history of violence on people. He got arrested for trying to fight his neighbor. He came running outside wearing nothing but his underwear and was outside trying to fight his neighbor and got arrested for disorderly conduct.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, there's always some lunatic out there doing something idiotic like that.
Yeah. Now here's the next one.
It's usually a white woman though.
Here's the next one. You'll like this one. Well, Ryan will. 4,000 Americans are hospitalized each year with a foreign object lodged in their rectums. I kid you not.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I worked in a hospital, man. I know the stats on this. It's fucking ridiculous.
I scrolled down, right? I gotta show this. Some Frenchman had a World War I bomb stuck up his rectum. How he got that in? 88-year-old Frenchman arrived at the hospital with a World War I bomb stuck in his rectum.
I mean, you slip a condom over it and you lube it up. That's how, you exhale when it enters. That's about the size of your average dildo, so I imagine it wasn't that difficult. That's probably exactly what he was thinking. Like, oh, this is kind of shaped like a dildo, you know.
Yeah, but that dildo goes kaboom.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was deactivated. Maybe it wasn't. Sometimes they're duds too.
Yeah, but those are the worst though. Duds, yeah, they're the worst. And depending on what kind of dud it is, and people don't know, things like cell phones will set them off. They will set certain duds off.
Certain ones, yeah. You said this was World War One.
It won't not that one in particular. I'm talking about like newer ones.
Frenchman, not surprised. Yep, me neither.
It
You
was
know all
probably
that shit.
It was probably a German that put it up there.
But you know all that shit that I was talking about Germany earlier.
Yeah.
It's even worse because the French are their bitches.
I don't think you'll have any. Look at this. What sort of objects were found in people's rectums? Sexual object, of course. Miscellaneous. A bottle, jar, or bottle cap. Drugs. Balls and marble.
Mm-hmm.
Cans. Writing. So people are sticking pens and pencils in.
Look, folks. If you're gonna stick stuff up your ass, which I do not recommend because it's not what your ass is for. But if you're gonna do it, at least make sure the thing has a backstop so it doesn't get fucking sucked up and lost in there.
What age group is likely? Okay, so first age group is so Shadow's group is most likely.
Yeah, that's because they're all basically women with boy cuts. No offense, kid, if you listen to this later.
Oh boy. Well, at least you come in. Well, you're not in first. That's all that matters. But but they even
Oh
get
no,
in middle.
my generation is fucking perverted. You have no idea. Well, you do because you're kind of in it, but it's
Yeah,
Uh,
that's crazy, man. I mean, light bulbs, dumbbells.
mm-hmm.
How the hell you get a dumbbell? Well, these people are crazy, man. They had to be high doing this.
Well, when they're talking dumbbells, are they talking like those little like 1 pound ones you get at like senior centers and shit for old people to
Yeah,
work out with? Because that's about the right size.
yeah. That's all you're gonna get in there.
Unlike the anal rail gun, that was a special circumstance. But yeah, don't get an MRI with something up your ass.
But that's just crazy to have. Females present at younger ages with a significantly higher proportion of sexual devices and have lower odds of hospitalization. Probably because they're doing their
Well,
research.
probably, and also because the particular orifice that most things the females stick things into is kind of designed for that. Things
Yeah,
are supposed to come back out again.
yeah,
Whereas the one that men use, things are not supposed to be entering that way in the fucking first place. You know,
yeah. And they're not fitting in the other hole. They're not gonna fit in that one
well, you can
unless
stretch
they're.
the urethra. Actually,
Yeah,
there's a whole dark side of the internet that you may be blissfully unaware of, and be grateful that you are.
no. I'm aware. I've never seen it, but I'm aware of it enough to not want to go anywhere near the dark internet.
Yeah,
dark web, so to speak.
it's there's awful things that you can never unsee there. But
I've heard stories,
yeah,
things that I never want to see.
don't put stuff up your butt. It's that simple. You know what happens when you don't put stuff up your butt? You don't go to the hospital and have the nurses all laugh and take pictures and shit when they have to surgically cut you open to remove the thing that you put up your butt. That doesn't happen when you don't put it up there in the first place. Just
That's
saying.
right.
No, unless you're into being humiliated, which is a fetish that I do not understand at all. just don't do it. Avoid the whole process by not putting things in your butt. That's my PSA for the day. Don't put shit in your butt.
Some
Shit
people.
only comes out. It does not go in.
So I'm looking at the time. Dang, we're already at 2 hours. We haven't even gotten it. So we're gonna have to do. I would say probably do one of one of the science fictions, and that's probably gonna have to. That's probably gonna have to be it, because I didn't think that we were gonna. I mean, I've been enjoying the conversation, just letting it just go freely. So I didn't move things along.
No, no worries. No worries.
So I think we can do this, and then probably call it a night. Let's see. Let's see if you agree with this. So here we go. You'll like this list. 150 essential sci-fi movies to watch now.
Jesus Christ, it's 150 items long.
Oh yes. And your favorite movie, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is number 150.
Wait, why are you calling that my favorite movie? I barely talked about that movie like ever. It might be Bubba's favorite movie. I know he's a very big Douglas Adams fan. I don't know how you feel about that particular version, but Bubba, but I know that you're a Douglas Adams fan.
Okay. Well, how about this? Because I know that's gonna be a discussion. We'll do the IGN one. Well, I mean, and we all know that IGN is the the foremost leader of honest news reporting. They have no bias on video games. They're very knowledgeable on movies for lists that they put together. Their lists make complete sense. They've never put movies on a particular list that have no business being on that list ever.
They're definitely all public school graduates.
Oh, of course. Galaxy Quest. There you go.
That's a great fucking movie, though. It is. That is, and other people have said this long before I ever did, but they're right. That is probably one of the best Star Trek movies ever made, and it's not even a Star Trek movie. It is. It is a parody of it, but it is an excellent film, and it kind of encapsulates everything that Star Trek is about.
Funny thing is,
Good.
I've never seen it.
Oh, you should. You should. It's very good. Very funny. Sam Rockwell is. I mean, they're all really funny in it, but Sam Rockwell in particular really stands out. He kind of steals the show a little bit.
Here's another one. Wall-E.
Yeah, I got introduced to that movie by my green freak ex-wife, and so I did not give it a fair shake the first couple times I watched it because it is basically environmentalist propaganda. However,
I agree with that.
later on, I did watch it with my kids later on. And despite being environmentalist propaganda, which it absolutely is, it's also a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
You know, for the most part. Wally's a kind of a lovable character for a dude who doesn't say much besides like, you know. So I don't have a real issue with Wally. I don't know if it's like top like 25 sci-fi movies ever made. I don't think that at all.
Yeah, I
But it's
wouldn't put
pretty
that
good.
on there either. Like I said, IGN completely knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Ex Machina.
Haven't seen that one yet. I've been looking forward to it.
I've heard
if you
that
know
it's
anything
good.
about it, don't spoil it because I
I've
do
never
want to see
seen
it.
it. I've never seen it.
Yeah, that's one that I have heard very good things about, and I have not yet had a chance to watch.
AI Tale, huh? I've never heard
So
of it. Okay.
apparently, it's got Oscar Isaac in it.
Hmm.
You know, he's usually pretty watchable. He's a good actor.
Okay. Inception. I've never seen Inception, but I heard it's good.
It's complex.
I've heard that too.
It's Christopher Nolan
Christopher Nolan, yeah.
at just about his most intellectually pretentious. It's good, but it can be a little hard to follow because of the way that the story is structured and the themes that they're going with and even the set pieces are just like, wait, what the fuck? Um, you saw Doctor Strange, right? The
Yep.
first one. Okay,
Yep.
so you know when they get to the mirror dimension
Hmm.
and all the shit starts moving around weird and shit like that, I think they kind of stole that a little bit from this movie.
Hmm.
Like it's much more flashy in Doctor Strange than it is here, but the idea of it they kind of stole from this movie.
Okay.
So, but I only watched it one time, and it was still in theaters at the time. So I liked it, but it's complex, and I don't know if I would call it greatest ever. I think it's a little too convoluted for the average sci-fi viewer.
Right, and that's the number one thing I heard about Inception, and that's what made me not want to go watch it. So I was like, it shouldn't
Mhm.
be that easy to understand. Now, I've never heard of this movie.
That came out last year. I have a copy of it. It is very nihilistic, but it is very entertaining. It's got a little bit of woke shit in it. It does. But it was
It
written really well, and the characters are really good.
looks like she tried to kung fu a bullet and lost.
That is that's a googly eye. It's a weird movie too.
Oh, it's a third eye, basically.
It's a googly eye. There's a whole thing. There's a whole subplot with googly eyes. It's a strange movie, but it's very entertaining. It's very endearing. It's probably Michelle Yeoh's best work. Um, and it's got Ki Hei Kwan in it, the kid who played Short Round in Indiana Jones,
Okay.
right? And I think he was in Goonies as a kid too. But
Yeah.
all grown up, he plays her husband, and I mean, I actually think he won an Oscar for that, and rightfully so because he was fucking fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, he
But
did. I remember that he did win I think he did win an Oscar for that.
yeah. Hey, Static. Good to see you, buddy. Yes, they did. But yeah, it's very good. It's got its woke elements to it, like certain ideas and certain agendas are woven into it, but they're not overbearing, and they don't get in the way of the characters or the plot. The plot's a little wild because it involves parallel realities and alternate selves, and literally the title is explains the whole thing without explaining anything. It's good. It's worth a watch, but um, it takes a minute to digest it.
Yeah, it looks like it. That googly eye thing is
Oh, that's not even the weirdest thing in the movie. There's hot dog fingers at one point.
okay. Next. RoboCop. Love this movie.
RoboCop is not just, in my opinion, one of the greatest dystopian science fiction movies ever made. It's a nearly perfect guy movie.
Is it truly is dystopian though? I mean, it's just that it's not that the whole world is all jacked up. It's just Detroit, and really, it was telling the truth of Detroit at the time, and probably even now.
Well, I would say that it is, given that OCP's agenda was to first test it out in Delta City after they built it over the tops of old Detroit, but then they were going to expand outward from there into the rest of the United States and then the world with this. So yeah, I would say it was a little dystopian. Um, plus, I mean, Detroit's pretty dystopian in reality.
Yeah.
um, Static says he liked Everything Everywhere All at Once. Message wasn't forced down your throat, so you could usually choose to dismiss it or not. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. The messaging was there, but it wasn't the focus, which was good, and it was well written. So, but RoboCop, man, RoboCop. There's only a couple of things I could nitpick about that movie, and mostly that has to do with like wonky special effects at the end of it. That like I mean, it was 1987.
Oh,
I'll forget.
when Ed 209 fell down those stairs.
No, I actually like that, but not the
I'm
stop
talking about the
motion was
graphics.
no, the stop motion animation they used for that was a little janky, but I was referring more to and spoilers, guys, but this movie's been out for almost 40 fucking years. The bit where Ronnie Cox's character falls out of the skyscraper at the end, and his arms are all of a sudden twice as long as the rest of his body for
Oh
no reason.
he goes yeah.
And it's like the worst green screen you've ever seen in that scene. But the rest of the movie's really fucking good. The characters are great. The concept is really good. I like all of them, all of the RoboCop movies, but
I
this
didn't
is
like
the only
3.
one that's actually a good movie.
Well, the second one was okay, but the
Oh,
first one was the best of all of them.
the second one's campy as fuck, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. But you got to admit, when they were trying when they were testing out all the RoboCop 2s, especially the one that shot the 2 guys and then shot itself. Hey,
Yeah, good
GHAL.
stuff. Yeah. We got her. We got Static. We got some people coming in. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yes, at D-Day. Yeah, exactly. The arms are goofy as shit, and it is kind of off-putting a little bit, but they totally make up for it in the very next part of that scene where he's just like, nice shooting, son. What's your name?
Yeah.
That was a great fucking scene and an excellent way to end it.
And by the way, just quick plug for you guys that don't know, green-haired anti-liberal she has joined the panel for Screaming into the Void. You can also feel free to interact with her. She does have a channel, and she's more than welcome to feel free to drop that channel information in the chat as well.
Absolutely. Boa, the remake. Let me put it this way: I like Joel Kinnaman a lot. I think he's a great actor. I like Michael Keaton a lot. Again, I think he's a great actor. I like Gary Oldman a lot. I think he's a great actor. That movie fucking sucks.
Hmm.
It's terrible. It's not a good movie. The remake of RoboCop, yeah, it's not good. Huge waste of time.
You're welcome. You're welcome, green hair. All right, so let's see the next one. Back to the Future, another great movie.
That's top fucking tier. I don't care if it is about time travel, and if time travel movies you got to take with a grain of salt. Obviously, none of that shit fucking works. We don't know how it would work, and we can't seem to write a movie where it isn't full of fucking ridiculous plot holes or what have you. But as a movie goes, as science fiction movies go, it is definitely the Zemeckis Back to the Future trilogy. I take them all, the whole trilogy as like one thing. By the way,
yeah,
it's some of the best entertainment ever made.
And here's
in
the
science
thing
fiction.
too. Here's the thing too is that for me with part 1 in particular, you could identify Marty McFly. Just about anybody can identify with him, and it had
Mhm.
all of the story elements you could look for. When Doc was killed, I mean, that was his whole reason for going back in the past was to save Doc's life. He meets his parents, he helps his father regain his courage, and then he manages to get back. I mean, it and save Doc. You know, it just that movie had everything that you could possibly want in a storyline, as far as the story, as far as the elements, and and even in especially when he started fading out and he's looking at that photo.
Mhm. Yep. See, Boa says he owns the Blu-ray box set, and Boa has always been very staunch in his opinion that time travel stuff is not his bag. Doesn't like it. even he's got the Back to the Future stuff. Back to the Future is just it's good characters, wonky plot. There's some weird incest stuff underlying it, and it's still a great fucking movie. I mean, there's even an attempted rape in the first one. You know, like there's some ugly shit in that movie, but it's still one of the greatest movies ever made. You know, in my opinion, I have to say, because somebody out
The
there will
song, the music,
vehemently
yeah.
disagree with me.
The song, the music that made Huey Lewis famous.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
ZZ Top, yeah. Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Hold up a second. D-Day, you don't think he deserved to get fucked as bad as he did in the first one? He did try to rape Lorraine, dude.
Yeah.
I kind of think he deserved it a lot more, actually. But there wouldn't be a second or third one if he had.
Yeah, Marty would have been his son.
Yep. Close Encounters of the Third Kind is it's a very good movie. There's a place in Wyoming called Devil's Tower. It's Devil's Tower National Monument. It was one of the earliest of the national parks. Yellowstone, I think, was the first, also in Wyoming. And part of this movie takes place there. And every summer, they have this movie screen that they erect out under the stars. You know, not as big as a drive-in screen or anything like that, but big enough for people to sit around in their, back of their trucks or whatever and all that stuff. And they show Close Encounters of the Third Kind with the actual Devil's Tower behind the screen, like in the backdrop. And if it's a clear night with the moon out, you can see all of it. It's awesome. It's a very cool experience. If y'all ever end up out there, I highly recommend that. So, yeah. But good movie about first contact, really.
Green hair anti-liberal. She says we go there on our tours. Devil's Tower.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I have actually not seen this movie since I was probably a teenager myself. That was the last time that I was in that area, and I got to watch it on the screen, and it had stars out, and this big hunk of like weird rock behind the screen, and it was a neat experience. Though I remember the experience more than I remember the actual movie, but I know I've seen it a bunch of times. I just don't remember it as well as some others, but it was good.
Okay, I've never seen this one.
That is a classic.
The Day the
That
Earth
is,
Stood
yeah. Basically, so that's Klaatu. He is an android sent by a coalition of alien races who have come to Earth to tell us that we have the potential to one day join them in the stars. But we first need to get our shit together, and if we can't do it by a certain deadline, Klaatu there has orders to destroy us all. It's a cool movie.
That's why the Earth stood still then.
Yeah, basically because it was not only first contact, but it was like, you guys really need to get your shit together, or I'm going to kill all of you.
Yeah, like
because
literally saying that.
Well, and what it was that the coalition of aliens, they what they were afraid of is that if we did not shed our barbaric ways, we would take it with us to the stars and become a threat to everyone else.
I can understand that.
Yeah, it was cool. I haven't watched it in years, but yeah.
Terminator 2. It's
Greatest
science fiction.
It is science fiction. Greatest science fiction movies ever made. I think it's second tier to the original. I know that that's a bit of a hot take, and I know that almost everybody on Earth will disagree with me on this. I think that Terminator 2 is a good movie, but it is not as good as the original, and it is completely unnecessary. The original is a closed loop, did not need a sequel of any kind.
I'm actually inclined to agree with you. I think what made Terminator 2 Judgment Day, what made that movie worth watching, for the for you sentimental types, was his bonding with John Connor. Um, but if you it just the plot, I wouldn't say it doesn't make sense, but um, I watched it when I was a kid and I watched it. I watched it because of the T-1000.
Mhm.
That's what I cared about. That was the draw for me.
Yeah. I actually saw this before I saw the original. I think it was right after this came out to video, and I was hanging out with this guy, and he was like, "Hey, let's get this movie." And I don't know, we were pretty young, and I was like, "Well, I don't think my mom will let me watch that because she wouldn't have if she'd have known." Um, and we got it and we watched it, and I loved it. It was great, and I still love this movie. I think it's a very good movie.
Mhm.
But after having seen the first one, and then I've seen 1 through 4 dozens of times each. Uh, as much as I love the franchise, it really only needed to be one movie, and I don't think I think that Terminator 2 achieves on an action level what 1 failed to do. I mean, one's not an action movie anyway, it's a horror movie.
Yeah,
Um,
one was scary, man. I mean, I'm sorry,
yeah,
one was scary.
yeah, but it's and I like it a lot, and I like the advancements, I like all that stuff, but if you watch the first movie, I mean, like, nothing that happens after that first movie should have happened at all. 'Cause think about it. So Kyle Reese goes back in time after the Terminator, right? They know the Terminator got sent back to kill Sarah. So they send Kyle to stop that Terminator, and then what happens? The Resistance destroys the time to displacement equipment in the future. There is no one else coming back, and then they proceed to kick the shit out of the remnants of Skynet's forces,
Right.
right? There's nothing else to be sent back.
Well, if you remember, I can't remember which. I think it was the one that had old girl that played in Game of Thrones. Their excuse for that was his actions created more than one timeline, and so it kind of branched off into a different timeline. So so Terminator 2 on is not the same timeline because he altered the timeline going back.
Right,
That's
and
what they
and
were
I
saying.
think even if that wasn't the case, even if it was I mean, obviously, the future is not set, and that makes sense. But when I think how they justified that was when they get to Cyberdyne Technologies in the second movie, and they find the remnants of the original Terminator that was recovered from the factory where Sarah killed it.
Mm.
Uh, and they were basically reverse engineering from this technology. I mean, it was obviously smashed beyond use and stuff, but um, so I mean, yeah, it makes sense. The way they did it makes sense. They had to make it make sense, or otherwise the second movie wouldn't work at all. But it wasn't necessary, is all I'm getting at. And I do, Gal. By the way, I do love the second movie. I do, just not as much as the first one.
I'm like Gal. I'm like, who you calling Gal? I'm like, oh, you.
Green-haired anti-liberal, Gal. Yeah.
Did she give you permission to say that?
Yes,
I just want to make sure you weren't culturally appropriating.
I can say what I like. It's my show.
But you can't culturally appropriate.
Yeah, I can actually. Yeah, I can.
Well,
Because as it turns out,
until somebody reports you.
I mean, they can report away all they like. What's that gonna do? Fucking, make life a little uncomfortable for me? That's fine. I'll still be talking, and I'll probably be focusing most of my shit talking at the person who did the reporting. It's fine.
Well, there you go, folks. Create some content for us. All right, let's see what's the next one. Ooh, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh man, I haven't seen that since I was a kid. I remember it was kind of scary, but I don't remember enough of it to be able to speak too much on it. I think I saw there was a remake with Donald Sutherland, wasn't there?
I think so,
And
yeah.
yeah, and it was in color. Um, I don't know if I ever watched that one. I know I've seen this, but I was really young when I did. So, but it is considered a classic too.
Well, it is a classic.
Mm-hmm. Not
Yeah.
everything that came out of the 50s is considered a classic.
Oh, okay. So the only thing I remember about Star Trek 2, which was my favorite part, was when Kirk realizes that Khan has tricked him, and then he gets mad, and goes Khan.
Well, he says Khan because he's angry because Spock died as a direct result of Khan's actions.
Yeah.
This is immediately after Spock dies, basically in Kirk's arms, and that he loses his shit and all that. And this is a very good movie and one of the very best of the Star Trek movies. It's not my personal favorite, but it is very good. A lot of tension in it, and Ricardo Montalban reprises his role as Khan. He played him first in an episode called The Space Heat in the first season, and they got him back for this, and he was a hell of a villain.
Yeah. Look at this. Look at this. Seeing in 15 years comes along with phasers set to Khan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
See, right there, permission. There you go. It's just a short. Otherwise, you end up saying green-haired anti-liberal every time you addressed her, and while that is doable, it's a bit of a mouthful.
I know, but I still gave the lady her respect. I just wanted to give the lady her respect. That's all.
It's like most
and
people
make you
call
look
me
bad.
Sam or Samuel. They don't say the whole thing every time.
But you don't. But you don't deserve respect. No, I'm just kidding. Was Amir call you Sammy? I remember the first.
Well, Larry's gone. How you guys doing? Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Haven't seen it. Looked like some. For those of you in the chat who don't know me that well, I'm not really big on art house films. This kind of seemed like that to me. I haven't seen it, so I don't know for sure. It is something I never went out of my way to watch.
I had no interest in watching it.
Yeah,
I didn't even know Jim Carrey was. And you know, it's rare, but I've seen Jim Carrey play serious parts, and he shocked me a lot, like how Tom Hanks did. He's a very good serious actor when he wants to be. I think he was just more comfortable doing comedy.
he came up doing comedy. I mean, you remember In Living Color?
Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah.
Dude, I grew up on A Living Color.
I know that's like, but that's where he basically became known. I think he did one or two movies before he was on that. It was the Duck Factory and Once Bitten.
He did Once Bitten, and then there's one he did after that where he played somebody's alcoholic son, and I mean he played that part. I mean, I was shocked. I was like, this is the same guy that plays Vera DeMilo on In Living Color.
He did this. The very first movie he ever did was this little independent flick called The Duck Factory, which was like this like really cheap, low budget slapstick thing. And I only know about it because I learned about it years ago. I never actually watched the thing, so I don't know what it's like. But I did see Once Bitten, which is very funny and all that. So, but yeah, he was also Fire Marshal Bill, man.
Yeah.
That was one of the funniest fucking sketch comedy characters of all time. But he started getting into the serious stuff when he played Andy Kaufman in Man on the Moon.
Yeah.
And
I remember reading about that. People were he went full method actor mode, and he made a few lives miserable on that set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, well, he did that because the fucking role broke him.
Yeah.
Like he disappeared off the grid for like 2 years after he finished making that movie because he went a little crazy. And when he came back, he was doing more serious roles. Like he did that 1408 movie, which is a horror movie. He did I don't know if you ever saw Kick-Ass 2.
Yeah, I did.
But yeah, he plays Captain Stars and Stripes in that.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean they do some prosthetic work on him, but it's still him, and he is kind of awesome in it, actually.
Yeah, he is.
So like, yeah, he's capable of some very nuanced performances. He just is also a fucking whack job in real life. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, E.T. I mean, of course, E.T. is gonna be on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Static's right. He has lost his mind.
Yep.
And then there's
E.T.
aliens. We'll stick with that.
is the reason that that we saw that weird pinata cake thing in Mexico last week.
Yeah, that's why
It's
I
the
was
same shit.
laughing. It looked like paper mache. I was like, they watched E.T. and then
Mhm.
made a bad copy of him and put him in a makeshift coffin.
Yep.
It
Real
said, he
quick,
said, look. Hmm?
Boa, that's actually incorrect. It didn't help, but no, he broke a decade before Trump was elected.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jim Carrey went nuts way before that happened. And it had nothing to do with politics. No. Yeah. So yeah, but he was already out of his fucking mind. And then the whole Trump thing, he went fucking even crazier. Which is weird because he'll eventually every once in a while he does an interview and he'll come out and say something perfectly lucid that makes total sense. You know? So I don't know. But the guy's not right in the head. Anyway, what were you saying, Larry?
well, I mean, you can't be right in the head to play the type of characters that he's played. I mean,
Mhm.
when you have somebody that acts like that, there's some truth to the way they're playing their characters.
Yeah. Yeah, so but E.T. was good. This is, I think, Drew Barrymore's one of her earliest movies too. I don't think it was the first one. First one was Poltergeist,
No,
I
that
want to say.
was no. The girl in the first one, she died. Maybe she played the second poltergeist. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it was in the second one. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that was one of her first roles, but like E.T. was one of her very early roles because that's her in the picture as a
Yeah,
young girl.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, gal, get ready. Hot take time again. Aliens destroyed everything that made that creature special. I fucking hate that movie.
What?
Yeah.
I love it.
Look,
Alien 3
again,
I hated, but this one?
again, Aliens is an action movie. It is a different kind of movie than Alien is. But in Alien, we are introduced to this thing that is completely unknown to us, that has motivations that we can't fathom. We can't communicate with it. It is terrifying. They're just fucking cannon fodder in the second movie. It takes everything that makes it special and throws it out the goddamn window. And I hate that about the second movie. I fucking hate that.
Well,
That said,
they weren't just cannon fodder. They wiped out dang near the entire Space Marines team.
right. And how many of the aliens did the Space Marines kill before that happened, though?
A lot.
See what I mean?
But they have guns. I mean, the aliens didn't have guns. I mean,
Testing reflection. Yeah. I'm sorry. I just look again. I don't. Let me rephrase what I said. I don't hate this movie. I hate what it did to the monster. The monster was something special. It was.
it still
It was
is.
borderline cosmic horror. And now you get to this one, and it's just like, oh, we're just gonna start blowing their heads off left and fucking right. And it's no longer a special thing. It's just some random fucking, like it could
That's not
be
true.
any number of random generic movie monsters and any number of random generic sci-fi, films where like hordes of them, come tumbling down the hallways and just get blown away. It's not special here, and I resent what that did to the creature that I was introduced to in the first movie. However, I will grant you this: there are some fantastic characters in this, some great actors. It is a good action movie. Sigourney Weaver knocks it out of the fucking park. Michael Biehn is, as always, awesome. Even the kid who plays Newt is really good. And it gave us Lance Henriksen as an android, which was pretty sweet. So I don't hate everything about the movie, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me and James Cameron. He's hit or miss with me. So
I think you had. Yeah, I think I loved it. I loved the expansion and the explanation of how they were. Now, I didn't know this until a few months ago, but the Queen alien, I didn't know that actually in the lore that the Queen alien is not the biggest alien. There's like two more levels of Queen, two or three more levels of
That's
Queen above her.
that's pretty recent stuff though, man. That's people have continued to write stories about them. I think Dark Horse even recently was still putting out comic books about them. Um, and adding to the lore. I mean, the Alien versus Predator thing came from those comic books,
Right.
And all that. And like Bo was saying here, I don't know what you're asking me exactly because that's not like a thing outside. I think it happened one time in the comics, and it was Alien versus Predator versus Terminator, which was actually not a bad comic, um, but that's they're not going to do a movie of that anytime soon. Too many different hands.
Honestly, I think the Predators would win
I was having a
versus
little bit of
Terminator.
issue with StreamYard there. Well,
Never heard of this
hold
one.
on just a second. I'm having some
Alright.
issues. Forbidden Planet. Oh, yeah, it's pretty good. You know, it's not the worst movie ever. It's pretty good. That robot's not a good guy. Excuse me. No.
But it can't be with those
yeah.
little arms. You're lucky.
I mean, you know, we're not all. It's fine that we don't always agree. That's okay. But yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that. I thought about watching it again last year, and then I never got around to it. But it's sort of like, George Lucas borrowed some ideas from it. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Yep. There's your favorite. The Thing.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's a very good movie.
Same photo, and this was on the other list for what was it 2 weeks ago?
Yes, because no, it was last week. But yeah, it is a horror movie. It is also science fiction, and it is also cosmic horror, which is
So
the
it's
thing I love
cosmic
most
horror
about it.
fiction.
Well, no, it's cosmic horror. Cosmic horror also includes science fiction elements. For instance, one of the last stories that Lovecraft actually wrote, I I think it's called The Whisperer in the Dark, or The Whisperer in Darkness, and it's basically about a fungoid alien species that is stealing the brains out of people and putting them in computers.
I've heard of that.
They're called the Migo, and the reason that ties in with the Cthulhu stuff is because on their planet they worship Cthulhu as a god. Their planet, of course, being they call it Yugoth, but it's Pluto.
Then they don't have a lot of room to move around.
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes.
The first one is good. It has 4 sequels.
Yeah. I wonder if
yeah,
that. No, I was just remembered in one of the sequels or one of the remakes. I'll say there was one that looked like Michael Jackson. And
I don't know.
I think they had patterned it after his face.
Are you talking about the Tim Burton remake in the 90s?
I guess.
Because that was probably the all of these were made like when Michael Jackson was a little kid.
No, I'm not talking about this one. I'm talking about one of the. It was a remake.
Yeah, so
Either a sequel or a remake.
So there were 2 remakes, one in the 90s by Tim Burton, where they still tried to keep this sort of humanoid aesthetic. But in the most recent remakes, they all look like apes. They don't look like people.
No, this one was an ape, but it looked like Michael Jackson.
That's what I'm saying, man. I'm telling you that I think that it was the 98 one because they still had humanoid features like these do. Whereas the most recent remakes, man, they aren't even wearing clothes.
Yeah, Dire Wolf. I think it was the female one. I think he knows
That
what
was
I'm talking about.
played by Helena Bonham Carter, who at the time was married to Tim Burton.
Married to Tim Burton. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the one. Mark Wahlberg was in it.
Let's see. Metropolis. Man, 1927.
Yeah. So I did watch this, but full confession, Mom, plug your ears if you're listening. I'm pretty sure I was high, and I don't remember a lot about it.
Okay.
I
A longer
look,
cut
it's
of the film was.
I was in my early 20s, man.
A longer cut of the film was discovered in 2008 in Argentina.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's regarded as one of the seminal masterpieces in science fiction, and that a lot of stuff that came after does take direct influence from some of the ideas and themes that are in it. Yeah, but this is mostly stuff that I've read about. I don't remember the movie very well itself.
Yeah, I've only heard of it.
Yeah.
Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. I would
Not
have to
even my
say,
favorite.
which one's your favorite?
Gal's gonna kick me in the balls for this. Return of the Jedi.
That's my favorite. But I will say that The Empire Strikes Back emotionally was definitely the most powerful.
I
It
think
was it. Sorry, go ahead.
it certainly had some very, very powerful story beats in it, and like a good second part of a trilogy. It does end on that down note so that the third part can lift us back up again. And it does that very, very, very well. I don't have an issue with this movie. I like this movie. I just like Return better.
Yeah, I did too.
Look, okay, so Ewoks aside, right? Which, by the way, in past live streams, I have talked about exactly why they're much cooler and darker than people think. But that the Ewoks aside, right? The final confrontation between Vader and Luke in the Emperor's throne room is my favorite lightsaber battle in all of Star Wars because it's so raw, you know. Luke is being pushed and pushed closer to the dark side into madness and to giving into just pure rage. And Vader is conflicted about doing this to his son, but he's still committed to the Emperor. I mean, it is a very emotionally intricate scene, and the bit where Vader says he's going to go after Leia instead, and Luke just snaps and wails on him until he cuts his hand off and wounds him, and just, oh my god, that's a great fucking scene. you know
Yeah, that should have pushed him to the dark side right then. Like the way he lost it,
Mhm.
but it was a great recovery for him. And then you had the Emperor sitting there laughing.
Yeah, and then when Luke decides that, no, I'm gonna be on the right side, I'm gonna be on the side of light, I'm not gonna do this, and he puts his lightsaber down, and he looks at the Emperor and he says, I am a Jedi Knight like my father before me, right, and just stands his fucking ground, man. I just it makes that bit in you that wants to go out and get on a horse with a battle axe and go kick some ass just swell up in your chest.
Yep.
And then of course Vader turning on the Emperor when the Emperor's killing his son. I mean, like he was torn on that. He didn't know what to do, but he made the right choice, even though it cost him his life. And oh fuck, I love that scene.
Funny. It's funny that as much, and this is one thing I hated about the newer movies. They made it so it was almost like Palpatine was omniscient. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, he foresaw this, he foresaw that, but he didn't foresee Vader throwing him down that shaft. I mean, it's just like the way that they presented him in the sequels, in the newer sequels. That man should have been, you know, that version of him should have known what was coming. You see what I'm saying? Like you saw all this other stuff happening. You knew Anakin was gonna go back and tell Mace Windu what you did. You knew all this stuff, but you didn't see Darth Vader turning on you.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, there were things in place. I mean, he'd been grooming the dude to basically be his fucking attack dog for 30 years at that point, which Vader had gladly done. I mean, he glassed entire worlds for this fucker. You know, there was no reason to think that his son, who he barely knows, would be able to reach him, which he did. He did.
He was concerned about it because he was like, I sense turmoil in you. You know,
Mhm.
for me, that would have alerted me right then. I'd been like,
Yeah,
okay, Vader, you go sit down.
good
Um,
stuff. Real quick though, Boa, dude, I get, like we all got our opinions and stuff. I'm kind of surprised the rest of the chat's not ripping you a new one right now.
yeah, Vader was much more powerful than Palpatine. He was just weak. He was weak minded. He was already
Yeah,
twisted and manipulated.
yeah. But yeah, it's just like it's that's a pretty hot take saying that only Revenge of the Sith was the only film worth watching. I think like it's a really hot take. Like, look, man, you like what you like. I have no issue with that. I'm just saying that like you're in a chat with a bunch of fucking Star Wars fans. Might you might want to read the room a little bit.
Yeah.
uh, D-Day, yes,
Yeah,
they
they
do.
did.
Yeah.
That's why they had. That's why Darth Bane came up with the rule of two.
Well, and even then, that didn't stop the betrayal. It just
Oh
stopped.
no.
What that stopped was a galaxy full of Sith constantly betraying each other and casting everything into total chaos.
Right.
Yeah.
He just
So,
he just made the killing down to 1-on-1. He was like he believed in the
mhm.
principle. He just didn't want the mass genocide.
Well, it's not the genocide he was problem with. It was the lack of order. You know.
Yeah, which is what caused the genocide. He had a problem with that. That's why,
Yeah.
like you said, he was just like, we got a master and apprentice, and the goal for the apprentice is to become strong enough to take the master's life and take his mantle and
Yeah.
repeat the cycle.
Um. Well, so, and this is extended universe stuff because obviously they didn't say anything about this in the movies, but from what I understand, so Palpatine designed Vader's suit, right? The thing that sustains him and keeps him from just fucking succumbing to all the horrific wounds he sustained in Episode 3. If you download schematics of his suit or whatever, and it shows you all the stuff, there's this strange detail in it that has this hyperconductive alloy running through all of it that is apparently designed by Palpatine to enhance the destructiveness of his force lightning, just in case Vader ever turned. Which is why Vader did not survive attacking Palpatine.
Yeah, and Vader
But
probably
again,
knew it was there. He probably knew
but
it was in there.
again, that's extended lore. So like I don't know, like it was considered canon before Disney got a hold of it and all that shit. So anyway, number 5.
The Matrix.
I would say that this is definitely high on the list, especially when it comes to man versus machine movies. Is definitely way up there. It's got a certain cyberpunk element to it that's very cool. I think it's pretty good contender for a list of best science fiction movies, and certainly influential. I mean, how many movies came out after that directly ripped off things that were in the Matrix?
Yeah, and they did a bad job of it too.
Not all of them.
Not all of them, but
Equilibrium was really good,
Equilibrium was classic.
but they stole the entire aesthetic from the Matrix. There is a little bit of argument about that because it came out after the Matrix, but apparently it was in pre-production before the Matrix was, and so there's some wiggle room on that. But yeah, the aesthetic is very, very, very similar. But Equilibrium is I would put that up there. I think that's a fantastic science fiction movie. But the Matrix is really good. It deserves its place on there. I would say the first one and the first one only. Fuck the rest of them. So, but that's just my opinion. They lost me in the second one with the Neo versus 1,000 Agent Smith fight. I was like, after that, I was like, no, this is stupid now.
I just wish he had lived through it, you know. But I guess it ended the only way it could.
Yeah.
There's your
See?
alien right there.
Gal and I totally agree on that. The rest of them that aren't anymore, absolutely, I'm with you. Yeah, it's one of the best science fiction movies ever made. It absolutely deserves to be there. It's also, in my opinion, one of the scariest movies ever made. Like genuinely scary. You know,
Do you know I've never seen Alien 1?
really.
Yep.
Oh man, you should. It's got a few things going for it that a lot of movies don't, like of any genre, really. Like so there's the main cast is about six people, right? And they're all veteran actors. And one of the cool things about how they filmed it was that when they have dialogue, and there's not as much as you might think, but there's plenty of dialogue in the movie. But when they have dialogue, they are all speaking like real people. It doesn't feel like they've memorized the script. It doesn't feel like they're acting. It feels like these are people reacting to this situation. It's so well done.
You know, I take that back. I'm sorry. I did see it, but I was little. I might have been about 5. Like what?
Yeah.
No, I did see it, but I was young.
I was pretty young first time I saw it too, but it's my dad used to have this on Laserdisc.
Good old laser disc, where you had to flip the sides right when you're in the middle of something. Please flip the other side.
Yep. We had this, we had RoboCop, and we had the original Star Wars trilogy, all on Laserdisc. Yeah.
How
there were
long
others
was it?
too, but
How long did it go before you had to flip sides? Was it like an hour and a half, wasn't it?
depended on the length of the movie. Honestly, sometimes you only had like 20 minutes on the other side. Sometimes you had half the movie. It really depended on the length of the movie.
Event Horizon, yeah, Event Horizon was great.
Event Horizon is, again, awesome cosmic horror, and it's up there.
There you go.
No, I do like that movie.
A New Hope.
Yeah, New Hope is good. A New Hope is so. This might piss some people off. I like A New Hope, but I do not consider Star Wars in this case as science fiction. This is science fantasy. It's actually basic bitch fantasy, you know. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just very, you know, farm boy goes off with a wise old man and a roguish type to save a princess from an evil wizard. I mean, that's the entire fucking plot. This could easily have been written by Tolkien when he was just like sitting down and doodling, you know, in a fantasy setting. It's that kind of thing. I don't consider Star Wars necessarily science fiction, more science fantasy or space opera. Like it takes place in a place that obviously has spaceships and lasers and stuff, but it's not really. It isn't till later that they start bringing in like more science fiction kind of themes and ideals and that sort of thing. But it is good. I do like it quite a bit. They don't really flesh out the characters though until Empire.
Right.
So it's a good start. I'll put it that way.
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. That
The
is
1982 one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love this movie. But you gotta be careful which version of it did you watch. Because there are like 6 different versions.
Of the original.
Yes. The original theatrical one is actually probably the best. You don't want to watch the full-on director's cut because they cut out all of Deckard's inner monologue, his detective noir style inner monologue, all of that gets removed from the fucking movie, which means a lot of shit has no context. And they added in that weird ass dream with the unicorn, which, yeah. So, but otherwise, this movie introduced me to Rutger Hauer, who I considered one of the greatest actors of his time, even though he was in a lot of bad movies. He never phoned it in. Yeah. So
Number one, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I hate this movie.
I knew you were gonna say that, and I know why. And you know what? The reason why you hate this movie is right there.
That is pretty much it. Yeah. The only watchable part of this movie, besides the evil computer, which is, by the way, just a glowing red circle. It doesn't do anything. It just sits there and it's on the screen. The only really watchable part of this is the beginning part, the Thus Spake Zarathustra part, where the apes are learning tools in war. That part was awesome. After that, it's just 3 fucking hours of shit floating in space to classical music, and occasionally the computer voice gets snarky with Dave. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah, it's definitely You know what? This movie it's a punishment for kids.
It's a punishment for adults.
Yeah. If you ever in the military, and you capture somebody, you wanna torture them, put on 2000 in the Space Odyssey.
This is what happens when you take like Full Metal Jacket and you remove all of the action. It's unwatchable.
Green-haired anti-liberal said she's never seen Space Odyssey, then you lucked out.
Read the book. Arthur C. Clarke wrote a book. It was good. This movie sucks, and and they've got it at number 1. That's so goddamn irritating. Why does everybody in fucking Access Media suck Stanley Kubrick's dick? The man is a terrible director. He did exactly one thing right, The Shining.
That's
And even
why.
that has problems. You know? I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like Chad, you may have noticed that I might have a little bit of a bias against Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah,
No.
he does not like Stanley Kubrick. If you guys want to get on his nerves, start talking about Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, it's not my thing. Well, apparently, Static. Who put that list together again?
IGN.
Yeah, IGN doesn't know fuck all about movies, so Event Horizon wasn't on there.
Yeah, and it should have been.
Yeah, it really should have been. It should have been on there. Sam Neill, fucking Lawrence Fishburne, man, that's a great movie. It's got Sean Pertwee's in that too. Before he died, yeah, it was a great movie. Love it. Pretty much. Yes, Boa, the movie is true to the book, but the book was written by Arthur C. Clarke, and he did a better job writing that book than Stanley Kubrick did directing that shit ass movie. Anyway, all that said, I don't know. Is there anything else we wanted to touch on before we closed out? We're just about at 3 hours tonight.
No, that is it. We are done. We are definitely on longer than I thought we were going to be, and I'm happy about it because it went by quick.
No, I do not. It's not my favorite. I liked elements in it. I liked Me Army, and I liked
He likes the first half hour like everybody else does. That whole
yeah,
movie
because the
should have
first
been
half
about
hour
basic.
was look. I like the first half hour of 2001 too,
Yeah.
or the first like 10 minutes of it or whatever. It's
Yeah.
fine up until then, but once it gets into the meat of the story, it's just like okay, now I'm
Yeah,
done.
all of Full Metal Jacket, it should have been about them going through basic.
Yeah. So, Yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, after what happens to Pyle and all that stuff, like
Yep.
then it just after that it just stops being interesting.
Yeah, it just sinks. Like
Yeah,
like somebody just dropping a rock out of their hands.
yeah. So and they had, I mean, they had the awesome drill sergeant, and just like, I mean, they could have made a whole movie out of that, like you just said, man, and it would have been probably a lot better. Yeah, but no. So, well, let's see. There's those two, obviously, The Shining with Jack Nicholson and fucking Olive Oil. I can't remember her name off the top of my head right now. Um, Shelley Duvall. Which is pretty good for the most part. I will give Kubrick that. The Shining was not bad. There's a lot of stuff to like about that movie. There are also long periods where nothing fucking happens. It's like his hallmark. Eyes Wide Shut, which has mostly long periods of nothing happening, and then quick bursts of extreme sexual degeneracy. um, fuck else did he do? Yeah, I don't remember everything he did myself. I know that I don't care for most of his stuff though. He's not quite Yui Bowl bad, but at least Yui Bowl doesn't pretend to be a good director, and people don't fucking lie about him being one. Dude makes shit movies for German tax write-offs, and he's very open about it, and I can respect that. I can't watch his movies; they're fucking unwatchable. But so hey, Richard, you came in at the 3-hour mark. We were getting ready to close out, but it is good to see you. So, but yeah, so since we are closing out, why don't you do you want to plug anything you want to plug? Anything you got coming up? Tease the people a little bit, tickle their nipples.
Guys, as I mentioned about 2 hours ago, I will be on Netter's Network next Thursday evening, and I will be divulging the details of my channel and what I am in process of working on. And feel free to stop by. Support Netter's Network, support Troy. These guys are, they're good people, and they're out there to um, use their platform to allow people to come on and get their names out there.
Good deal. They are good people too. They're very supportive of everybody they come into contact with, and right now they're helping. Some of you might know that Adam the Renaissance Nerd and myself are kind of pushing, and Gal in chat are pushing this the Island to the Stars movie that Tom Conkle's working on, trying to get crowdfunded. Troy and Netter are who I heard it from first. With Tom Conkle was on their channel, and that's where I first saw the trailer and all that stuff. And they are doing everything they can to get the word out as well. So, yeah, go check them out. They do. They mostly just talk to people like we talk to people, but very good people, very friendly, and always willing to have a conversation. So definitely go check their channels out. Last Call with Troy Pacelli and Netter's Network. So, all right. Well, yeah. Oh, and definitely go check him out next week, because our very own Lawrence Knight will be the featured guest on Thursday Things on Netter's Network. Gal, I'll see if I can't pull up the links for that, since all of my fucking mods have gone to bed. No, I should probably mod some people who are still awake at this hour, shouldn't I?
I mean, you could.
Let's see. Netter's Network. There we go. All right. So just about have the link for Netter here. I'm going to drop that in chat. And maybe if I can get my shit to work. I'm not great at this. All right. So that is the channel that Larry will be guesting on Thursday. And she does an interview most Thursdays with different people. Sometimes they're pretty good. I was on there once.
Yeah, he was a few weeks
Not so
ago.
long ago. It was a good
About a
time.
month ago.
I enjoyed it. Last call with Tricelli. It's Baselli. I keep calling him Pacelli because sometimes with that Italian last name, or with the Italian C's, it's got that ch sound instead of soft S. And I keep fucking mispronouncing his name. One of these days, he's going to yell at me about that. And there is Troy's channel. Both good people. So go check them out. Also, don't forget, we will be back here tomorrow for Screaming into the Void. We have some fun topics to talk about, some stuff that might make you cringe a little bit, but it is what it is. And then on Sunday, we will be doing Star Trek Engage. Once again, hopefully we will have our captain back on board, as well as our our gauge and navigator that will be back this week as well. Next week on the she returned. She had some real life stuff she will make us. She did her and so sweet. So
But you're breaking up really bad.
that's because my internet is going out.
Oh. Well, in that case, folks, it could be worse. You could forget the rest of what you were gonna say, just like I did.
Yeah, I don't know, but it just we'll be around. I hope you guys all got that. Sorry about the roboting. Go listen to any other fucking live stream that I do, and the spiel is all mostly there too. So, but yeah, we'll see you all tomorrow for Screaming into the Void. Until then, have a great night. And remember, it could always be worse, YouTube. It could be raining flaming cobras.